Chapter 3484. Not long after, the portrait of a woman appeared on the paper. This woman was Cui Wei, whom Lu Ming knew. Damn it. Lu Ming growled. Father, do you know this woman? Lu Shenhuang asked. I do, but this person is very likely my enemy. Lu Ming said gloomily. What? Not good. Lu Shenhuang's expression changed. With her cultivation it would be easy for her to kill you, but she didn't kill you and only tricked father and mother away. It's obvious that she wants to use father and mother to threaten me. Thus, father and mother's safety shouldn't be a problem. Lu Ming muttered as he quickly analyzed the situation in his mind. Since the other party could find Lu Yuntian and Li Ping, and had amazing strength, it would be too easy for her to kill them. However, she only tricked Lu Yuntian and Li Ping away. It was obvious that the other party wanted to control Lu Yuntian and Li Ping so that they could be used to threaten Lu Ming at a critical moment. Who is it? The Crown Prince or the State Preceptor? Or some other force? Lu Ming's mind raced, but he couldn't find any clues at the moment. Cui Wei, I'm going to find out who you are. Lu Ming growled. Soon Lu Ming began to investigate. He used all the forces at his disposal to investigate Cui Wei's background. But the result was a blank. In the end, he only found out that Cui Wei had been very close to a young man in the Great Void Imperial Academy. And that young man belonged to the State Preceptor's residence. State Preceptor. Lu Ming's eyes burst with shocking killing intent. Boom. Lu Ming soared into the sky, his violent aura filling the air. His cold killing intent was like a tide. No one could touch his family or his parents. Otherwise, no matter who it was, he would make them pay the price, even if it was the State Preceptor. Lu Ming, don't be rash. Blue Merchant's figure appeared in front of Lu Ming, blocking Lu Ming's path. I'm going to the State Preceptor's residence. Lu Ming said word by word. Lu Ming, don't be fooled. This is what the other party wants. You barged into the Imperial Advisor's residence without any evidence. The other party can treat you as a traitor and kill you directly. This is what the Imperial Advisor wants. Blue Merchant hurriedly said. Each of Blue Merchant's words contained the power of his soul. They bombarded Lu Ming's soul, causing Lu Ming's soul to tremble. Slowly Lu Ming calmed down. He knew that what Blue Merchant said made sense. If it was the State Preceptor, then the other party would just wait for Lu Ming to kill his way to the door. The other party was an important figure of the Taishu dynasty. If someone were to kill his way to the door, he could be treated as a traitor and killed on the spot. Lu Ming would definitely be killed by the Imperial Preceptor if he went there. There was no doubt about it. Lan Shu, what should we do now? Lu Ming took a deep breath. He was a little flustered now. Go find the Sage Emperor and let him uphold justice. But before that, you have to go find Holy Old Heavenly King. It'll be difficult for you to meet the Sage Emperor. Blue Merchant said. Okay, but I don't know where Holy Old Heavenly King is. Lu Ming said. The Sage Emperor's birthday is approaching. Holy Old Heavenly King has already arrived. He's in my small courtyard. Let's go together. Blue Merchant said. Without the slightest delay, not long after, they arrived at Lan Shang's small courtyard and met with Old Heavenly King Thousand Saints. Holy Old Heavenly King agreed without hesitation when he heard this. He led Lu Ming to the Sage Emperor's palace. Blue Merchant did not go. His identity was sensitive and it was inconvenient for him to meet the Sage Emperor. Holy Old Heavenly King had an extremely high status in the Taishu dynasty. In terms of cultivation, he was at the pinnacle of the Taishu dynasty. Naturally, he was unimpeded. With Holy Old Heavenly King's appearance, the Sage Emperor quickly agreed to meet Lu Ming. The Sage Emperor sat high up in the meeting hall of the Sage Emperor's palace. After not seeing him for a while, the Sage Emperor seemed to have aged a little. He looked a little lethargic. After all, the Sage Emperor was too old. It was rare for him to be able to live until now. Brother Holy Old Heavenly King, why are you looking for me? The Sage Emperor asked with a smile. Although Holy Old Heavenly King was very senior and old, he was still younger than the Sage Emperor. However, they were of the same generation, so the Sage Emperor addressed Holy Old Heavenly King as Old Heavenly King. Sage Emperor, I'm here for Lu Ming. Lu Ming is looking for you. Holy Old Heavenly King said. Lu Ming? Why are you looking for this Sage Emperor? The Sage Emperor looked at Lu Ming. The Sage Emperor remembered Lu Ming. Lu Ming's performance at the Taishu Imperial Academy was stunning. At the same time, he asked him to save the Blue Merchant. Thus he remembered Lu Ming. At the same time, Lu Ming was the youngest marquis of the Taishu dynasty. He had also approved of Lu Ming. How could he not know him? Sage Emperor, I want to sue the State Preceptor. He sent people to kidnap my parents. I don't know where they are now. Sage Emperor, please ask the state preceptor to release my parents. Lu Ming reported. What? There's such a thing? The Sage Emperor frowned. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and a terrifying pressure immediately spread out in the hall. Amazing! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. At this moment, the Saint Emperor did not seem like an old man, but a ferocious beast that could destroy the world. But this energy only lasted for a moment, and the Sage Emperor returned to his old appearance. Come, summon the state preceptor. Yes. Someone outside the hall immediately obeyed. Not long after, a guard came in and reported, Your Majesty, the Crown Prince and Second Prince request an audience. The two of them are quite well informed. Let them in. The Sage Emperor said. A while later, the Crown Prince and Second Prince entered the hall. After bowing to the Sage Emperor, they stood on either side. The Crown Prince swept his gaze over Lu Ming. There was a cold glint in his eyes. A while later, the state preceptor arrived. Paying respects to Your Majesty. For what reason has Your Majesty summoned me? The state preceptor bowed. State preceptor, Lu Ming said that you imprisoned his parents. Is this true? The Sage Emperor asked. What? Imprisoned his parents? Your Majesty, there is no such thing. This is slander. The state preceptor hurriedly protested. Slander? Wuhua, you know very well whether this is slander or not. Let me ask you, is Cui Wei a member of the state preceptor's residence? Lu Ming said loudly. Wuhua was the state preceptor's name. Cui Wei? What Cui Wei? I don't know her at all. Lu Ming, speak clearly. Otherwise I won't let you off. The state preceptor's face was extremely gloomy. That's right. Lu Ming, make things clear. The Sage Emperor said. Afterward, Lu Ming recounted the ins and outs of the matter in detail. Ah, what a joke. Just because of a girl you say that I captured your parents. What a joke. Also, I don't know that girl called Cui Wei. The state preceptor laughed. Wuhua, you suspected that I killed your son and wanted to kill me, but you didn't. You held a grudge and wanted to use my parents to threaten me. Is that right? Lu Ming said loudly. Impudent. You are slandering me. Your Majesty, please uphold justice. The state preceptor said to the Sage Emperor. Summon Wuhan. We will know once we ask him. The Sage Emperor said. Wuhan was the young man that Lu Ming found to be close to the state preceptor's residence. Chapter 3485. Soon a young man was brought in. This young man was Wuhan. When he came here and saw so many big shots, he was scared witless. When he heard the reason why he was summoned, he was so scared that his face turned pale. He knelt on the ground and cried, Your Majesty, I've been wronged. I haven't known Cui Wei for long. We didn't know each other before. More than 100 years ago, Cui Wei deliberately approached me so we got to know each other. And in the last 100 years, Cui Wei disappeared. I can't find her. If Your Majesty doesn't believe me, you can search my soul. If you want to search my soul, please search my soul. Your Majesty, everything is clear now. Cui Wei approached Wuhan on purpose to frame the imperial advisor's residence. I even suspect that there was no such thing. It was all planned by Lu Ming. He probably wants to frame me. Your Majesty, please uphold justice. The imperial advisor immediately said loudly. Damn it. Lu Ming cursed in his heart. He didn't expect this result. Cui Wei hadn't known Wuhan for long. Obviously, Cui Wei wasn't from the imperial advisor's residence. It seemed like someone wanted to frame the imperial advisor's residence. Who was it? With all the clues gone, Lu Ming's face turned ugly. His heart was in a mess. Your Majesty, Lu Ming is slandering you. He can simply find a reason to slander the state preceptor. If everyone imitates him, the world will be in chaos. Your Majesty, please punish Lu Ming and imprison him for a stellar year as a warning to others. The imperial advisor immediately seized the opportunity to counter Lu Ming. Father, the imperial advisor is right. The imperial advisor is an important official of the sacred dynasty. How can he be slandered so easily? Moreover, he deliberately came to you to do so. Such a person must not be tolerated. Father, please punish him. The crown prince also stepped out. No, Your Majesty. Lu Ming's parents are indeed missing and imprisoned. He only did this because he wanted to save his parents. He didn't commit any major crime. Please forgive him, Your Majesty. Thousand Saint Old Heavenly King immediately said. Yes, Father. Lu Ming is still young. With his parents imprisoned, it's inevitable that he would be in a mess. Please give him a chance. The second prince also stepped out. Your Majesty, we don't know whether his parents are imprisoned or not. However, we can't forgive him for slandering the imperial advisor. Otherwise, how can we deter the world in the future? Everyone will follow suit. What prestige will the imperial family have? The crown prince immediately. Lu Ming, on the other hand, remained silent. The sage emperor frowned. Indeed, slandering the state preceptor was a serious matter. Furthermore, the other party had even dared to come to him to do so. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. The imperial advisor's imperial advisor. What? The emperor asked. It will be the Saint Emperor's birthday in less than 5 years. At that time, it will also be the date of the agreement between the Saint Emperor and Saint Emperor Qianni. Both parties will send out their most powerful geniuses and the outcome will be determined in one battle. As long as Your Majesty wins, you will be able to obtain the soul-nourishing flower from Saint Emperor Qianni and extend Your Majesty's lifespan. I suggest that Lu Ming participate in this battle. If he can help Your Majesty win and obtain the soul-nourishing flower, he can make up for his mistakes and be pardoned for his crimes this time. Good, this is wonderful. The emperor nodded repeatedly. Your Majesty, you can't do that. Lu Ming's cultivation is still weak. He hasn't cultivated for long. How can he defeat those strongest geniuses? Letting Lu Ming participate in the battle is sending him to his death. Wu Fan has ulterior motives. Thousand Holy King immediately shouted. The barbarian tribe was to the southwest of the Taishu dynasty. To the north of the Taishu dynasty, there was another powerful country called the Qianni Sacred Dynasty. The Qianni Sacred Dynasty was about as powerful as the Taishu dynasty. The relationship between the two countries was sometimes good and sometimes bad. Sometimes there was war and sometimes there was cooperation. One stellar year ago, the current imperial emperor and Qianni Sacred Emperor had an agreement. On the 10th stellar year of the current imperial emperor, the two sides would send their strongest geniuses to fight each other. The loser would give the loser a supreme treasure. If Taishu's Sacred Emperor lost, he would give the loser a Divine Void Pearl. The Divine Void Pearl was unique to the Taishu dynasty. It was extremely helpful for the cultivation of the Divine Lord Realm. It was a supreme treasure. And if Qianni's Sacred Emperor lost, he would give Taishu's Sacred Emperor a soul-nourishing flower. Similarly, the soul-nourishing flower was also a supreme treasure. As the name suggested, it could nourish the soul, allowing the withered soul to be filled with vitality again. It was a supreme treasure for those who were about to die. It could increase their lifespan. For Taishu's Sacred Emperor, he had used all kinds of treasures that could increase his lifespan. Those treasures were no longer effective for him. However, the soul-nourishing flower was still effective for him. It could at least increase his lifespan by half a stellar year. Half a stellar year was 5 billion years. With such a long time, he might really be able to find a way to break through to a new realm and increase his lifespan. Therefore, Taishu's Sacred Emperor was determined to get the soul-nourishing flower. However, this battle was a battle between the strongest geniuses from both sides, such as the 9 great generals. After all, Lu Ming had only cultivated for a short time. How could he fight against such geniuses? Although Lu Ming had defeated Lin Ke was ranked last among the 9 great generals. Moreover, Holy Thousand-Old Heavenly King was sure that the Grand Tutor did not have good intentions when he made this suggestion. What's a little danger when serving Your Majesty? What I mean is that Lu Ming must play a decisive role in this meeting. He can't just be a bystander. Only then can he be pardoned. Otherwise he must be severely punished. Grand Tutor said. All right, I agree. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke with a determined expression. Lu Ming. Holy Thousand-Old Heavenly King was stunned and did not say anything else. All right, let's do it then. Sacred Emperor said. Beside him, Grand Tutor and the Crown Prince were overjoyed. Your Majesty, Lu Ming has a request. Lu Ming said again. What request? Taishu's Sacred Emperor asked. Your Majesty, if Lu Ming can obtain the soul-nourishing flower for Your Majesty, please do your best to find the culprit who imprisoned my parents. Lu Ming said. He had agreed so readily because he wanted to use the Taishu's Sacred Emperor's power to investigate his parents' whereabouts. The Taishu's Sacred Emperor's power was not something he could compare to. If the Taishu's Sacred Emperor sent someone to investigate, he believed that there would be results soon. All right, if you can really help me obtain the soul-nourishing flower, I will agree to any conditions. All right, that's all for today. You may all leave. I want to rest. Taishu's Sacred Emperor waved his hand. Then Lu Ming and the others took their leave. After some time in the Hidden Dragon Duke's residence. Lu Ming, I'm afraid the Grand Tutor doesn't have good intentions when he asked you to participate in the competition. I'm guessing that he will arrange for someone to harm you during the competition. Blue Merchant said with a frown. If they really do harm to me, I'll kill them all. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. I still can't be careless. You should know that Lin Ke is ranked last among the 9 general stars and is also the weakest, especially those who are ranked at the top. I heard that some of them have already entered the Divine Lord realm. Once they enter the Divine Lord realm, they will be extremely terrifying. Blue Merchant said. Chapter 3486. Lu Ming nodded. Blue Merchant's meaning was simple. If the Taishu dynasty had such a powerful person, the Tianyi Sacred dynasty must have one too. Although Lu Ming could fight against a second-level Divine Lord with his full combat strength, it was only against ordinary second-level Divine Lords. The 9 general stars were all top geniuses. Once they entered the Divine Lord realm, they would be terrifying. Their combat strength could not be measured by common sense. There are still 5 years left. I will improve my strength in these 5 years. Lu Ming's gaze was firm. He would get the soul-nourishing flower for the Sacred Emperor and ask the Sacred Emperor to investigate his parents. No matter who you are, if you hurt my parents, I will make sure you die a horrible death. I will pay you back 10 times, 100 times. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Then, after chatting with Blue Merchant for a while, Lu Ming returned to his room and started to cultivate in seclusion. 5 years was too short. Whether it was the divine power of origin, the battle character formula, or the secret skills of origin, there could not be any major breakthroughs. If he wanted to break through, he could only start with his cultivation. Now, his cultivation was in the 8th level of the Divine King realm. He wanted to reach the 9th level of the Divine King realm in 5 years. Normally, it was impossible to reach the 9th level of the Divine King realm from the 8th level of the Divine King realm in 5 years. However, Lu Ming had the measure character formula and countless primordial divine crystals. It was possible. The primordial divine crystals contained a large amount of primordial divine qi. They were very pure and strong. In the past, the primordial divine crystals were absorbed through the ancient god's heart and turned into bloodline power to improve the primordial divine body. Only a small portion was used by Lu Ming to improve his cultivation and turn into divine power. Once it was absorbed and refined by the measure character formula, it could only be turned into energy. It was of no help to the primordial divine body. But now, Lu Ming did not need to improve the primordial divine body. He only needed to improve his cultivation. Therefore, he let the measure character formula absorb it. As Lu Ming's cultivation increased, the measure character formula's refining speed also increased greatly. Moreover, the original divine crystal was easy to absorb. 5 years was enough for Lu Ming to break through to the 9th heaven of the King God realm. Old Liang, I'll leave it to you. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to the quantifying character art. Then, with a wave of his hand, 10,000 primeval divine crystals flew out. The energy contained within 10,000 primeval divine crystals was already extremely shocking. Lu Ming estimated that it was enough for him to break through. Leave it to me. The voice of the quantifying character formula was heard. Then, a wave of energy swept up the 10,000 primeval divine crystals and began to refine them. Not long after, a trickle of energy flowed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming circulated the universe myriad Dao technique and refined it slightly. This energy turned into divine power, strengthening Lu Ming's divine power. Just like that, Lu Ming wholeheartedly cultivated in seclusion. The Crown Prince stood with his hands clasped behind his back in a courtyard of the Crown Prince's mansion. Behind the Crown Prince stood the State Preceptor and a young man. If Lu Ming was there, he would definitely recognize that the young man was Di Jenny at a glance. Di Jenny, your chance is here. This time, Lu Ming will also participate in the battle between the two countries. Haven't you always wanted to kill Lu Ming? This is your chance. The Crown Prince said. I will not miss this chance. Di Jenny's eyes shone with cold light. Deep in his eyes, there was a deep desire. Others might not know, but he was very clear that Lu Ming definitely had the Origin Ancient Word on him. He had to get the Origin Ancient Word on Lu Ming. In that case, his strength would be even more shocking. In the future, he would definitely become a top expert in the chaotic universe. The Taishu dynasty was just a stepping stone for him. He had been looking for an opportunity to kill Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was either not around or surrounded by experts. He had never found an opportunity. There was only one time when he found an opportunity. However, Lu Ming's strength was beyond his expectations. He did not succeed and attracted other experts, causing him to miss the opportunity. This time he would not miss the opportunity. Di Jenny, don't be careless. Lu Ming is very strong. Even Lin Ke was defeated by Lu Ming. The State Preceptor warned. Lin Ke. How many people like him can I kill with one sword? Di Jenny said indifferently. He was full of confidence. Alright, there are still 5 years. In these 5 years, I will activate all the resources to help you improve further and kill Lu Ming. However, you have to remember that after you kill Lu Ming, you can only lose in the battle with the Tianyi Holy Dynasty. Do you understand? The Crown Prince said indifferently. His voice was very cold and filled with terrifying pressure. Yes. Di Jinny's eyes flashed and he bowed to accept the order. Only lose, not win. He knew what the Crown Prince was thinking. The Crown Prince had been in this position for too many years. However, as long as the Taishu Saint Emperor was alive, the Crown Prince would not be able to improve further and sit on the throne. He had been waiting for the Taishu Saint Emperor to die. How could he help the Saint Emperor to extend his life? If the Taishu Saint Emperor obtained the soul-nourishing flower and increased his lifespan by half a stellar year and then broke through his cultivation, the Crown Prince would not be able to sit on the throne for the rest of his life. The person who did not want the Saint Emperor to obtain the soul-nourishing flower the most was the Crown Prince. State Preceptor, this time, letting Lu Ming participate in the battle between the two countries is not playing with fire, right? The Crown Prince frowned and was a little worried. If Lu Ming really helped the Taishu dynasty to win, wouldn't they be shooting themselves in the foot? Crown Prince, do you think it's possible? The purpose of letting Lu Ming participate this time is to kill him. Of course, what if Lu Ming is really not dead? With his strength, how would it affect the overall situation? Isn't everything under the Crown Prince's control? The State Preceptor smiled cunningly. That's right. It seems like I'm overthinking. The Crown Prince smiled. Time flew by. 1 year, 2 years, in the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. There were 10 more days before the Taishu Saint Emperor's birthday. During this period, the Taishu Saint capital was bustling with activity. 27 heavenly kings' residences, a few hundred marquis residences, and a few thousand generals' residences had all arrived. During this period, there were many experts in the Taishu Saint capital. It was possible to meet anyone on the streets who was a divine lord. Of course, the army guarding the border was also on high alert to prevent the barbarian tribe from taking the opportunity to attack. On this day, a powerful aura emanated from the backyard of the Hidden Dragon Marquis residence. However, this aura was quickly suppressed. Not long after, a figure stepped out. It was Lu Ming. After 5 years, I finally broke through. Luckily, I made it in time. Lu Ming muttered. Just now, he had finally broken through to the 9th Heaven Divine King realm and entered the ranks of the Peak Divine Kings. The next step was to break through to the Divine Lord realm. Of course, it was not that easy to break through to the Divine Lord realm. He still needed to accumulate. Of course, his various divine powers had awakened 4 times. Compared to others, it was much easier to break through to the Divine Lord realm. As long as he accumulated enough divine powers, it would be a matter of time before he became a Divine Lord. Chapter 3487. There are still 10 days left. Lu Ming muttered. In the next 10 days, Lu Ming did not continue cultivating. Instead, he relaxed and guided Lu Shenhuang in his cultivation. Before Lu Ming went into seclusion, he gave Lu Shenhuang some resources. In the past 5 years, Lu Shenhuang had broken through to the Sky God realm. With the help of Lu Ming's resources, Lu Shenhuang's talent would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. It was the Taishu Sage Emperor's birthday. Boom, boom. In the sky above the Great Void Holy Capital, loud explosions rang out. Sparks flew in all directions like brilliant fireworks. How extravagant and spectacular. Lu Ming raised his head to look at the sky. He could clearly see that it was a scene of planets exploding in space. Clearly, there were powerful people in the Taishu Holy Dynasty who had captured some useless planets from the depths of space and then used them as fireworks to create a spectacular scene. Exploding planets and using them as fireworks was beyond Lu Ming's imagination. Of course, the atmosphere in the Taishu Sage capital was also ignited. Let's go. Lu Ming said as he led Blue Merchant, Yuan Tsong, Lu Shenhuang, and the rest into the depths of the Taishu Sage capital. In the depths of the Taishu Sage capital was a huge square. This square could hold tens of billions of people at the same time. It was simply too big. However, even so, it was still crowded. The various major forces formed their own small circles. As a marquis, Lu Ming naturally had his own seat. He led the rest to the seats reserved for the Hidden Dragon Marquis. The Sage Emperor has arrived. A loud shout came from afar. Following which, a large group of figures flew over. The one leading them was the Sage Emperor. Behind him were the Crown Prince, the Second Prince, and some other important members of the royal family. They sat in the highest seats and could overlook the entire square. The Tianyi Sage Emperor has arrived. Another loud shout came from another direction. A group of people came through the air. There were many of them, tens of thousands of them. Some were young and some were of the older generation. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man with a stocky build. He was burly and exuded a powerful aura of majesty. Although he did not emit any aura, others could not help but feel pressured when they saw him. This was the Sage Emperor of the Tianyi Sage dynasty. The outside world called him the Tianyi Sage Emperor. The Tianyi Sage Emperor was not particularly old. He was about the same age as the crown prince of the Taishu dynasty. However, his strength was unfathomable. He was on the same level as the Taishu Sage Emperor. Brother Jing, congratulations on being able to live up to 10 stellar years. I hope to see you in a few years' time. Ah. The Tianyi Saint Emperor laughed heartily. However, he was implying that the Taishu Saint Emperor would not live for long. Only Tianyi Saint Emperor dared to say this. If it were anyone else, they would have been slapped to death. Don't worry, this old man's greatest ability is to survive. Please have a seat. The Great Void Sage Emperor waved his hand. The people of the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty took their seats. Brother Jing, let's cut to the chase. Let the battle between the geniuses of both sides begin now. The Tianyi Sage Emperor was very direct. Since you are in such a hurry to give me the soul-nurturing flower, I shall accept it. Let the battle between the two countries begin. The Sage Emperor announced. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, 9 experts from the Taishu dynasty flew out. They stood in the sky and emitted powerful auras. Runes flew out from each of their hands. These runes gathered in the sky. Finally, the runes covered the sky and forcefully opened a crack in the sky. According to the rules we set in the past, this battle will be divided into 2 rounds. In the first round, the geniuses from both sides will enter a small world that has been set up in advance. They will fight for the promotion tokens inside. There are a total of 16 promotion tokens inside. Only those who obtain the tokens can enter the second round. In the second round, the geniuses from both sides will fight each other until the final victor. Brother Tianyi, you have no objections, right? The Great Void Sacred Emperor explained the rules of the competition to him. If you have no objections, let's begin. The Tianyi Sage Emperor laughed. Suddenly, young men flew out from behind the Tianyi Sage Emperor. There were at least a few thousand of them. They flew toward the crack in the sky and disappeared in the blink of an eye. You guys go in too. Remember, there are 16 tokens. You must obtain at least 8 of them. The Sage Emperor instructed. Yes. Suddenly, a large group of young men also flew into the sky and flew toward the crack. Di Jinni Linke. Lu Ming glanced over and saw 2 familiar faces. Especially when he saw Di Jinni, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He had already guessed that Di Jinni wanted to assassinate him. If he had the chance, he would definitely not let Di Jinni off. He would kill him and obtain the origin source ancient words on him. I'm going too. Lu Ming said to Lan Shang, Lu Shenhuang and the rest. He then soared into the sky, flew into the crack and disappeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared in a forest. As soon as he appeared, before he could look around, a huge python pounced toward Lu Ming. Good timing. Lu Ming smiled. He turned his hand and threw a punch. His fist energy was wild and it exploded in the void. This giant python, which was equivalent to a 5th-tier King God Realm expert, exploded and turned into ashes. Then a ray of light flew over and entered a jade token on Lu Ming's waist. All the geniuses who participated in the battle would be given such a jade token. As long as they killed the wild beasts in this small world, the souls of the wild beasts would be absorbed by the jade token. This small world was very big, but there were only 16 tokens. How could they find them? If they searched blindly, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. That was why there were such tokens. As long as they killed enough wild beasts and absorbed enough wild beast souls, the jade token would show them the location of the nearest token. Hence, if they wanted to find the token, they had to kill as many wild beasts as they could. In fact, the first stage was also a selection stage. Only the strongest group of geniuses would be able to obtain a token and enter the next round. If they couldn't even kill the wild beasts at the beginning, they wouldn't be able to enter the next round. After killing the python, Lu Ming flew into the sky and found that he was in a primitive forest where many wild beasts lived. A sharp cry came from above. Then the wind whistled and a huge eagle swooped down toward Lu Ming. Judging from its aura, it was at least a 6th-layer Divine King Realm expert. Those who weren't strong enough wouldn't be able to survive here. Of course, a 6th-layer Divine King Realm expert was nothing to Lu Ming. He threw out a punch and the eagle exploded. A wisp of its soul was absorbed by the jade token. Afterward, Lu Ming dashed into the forest and went on a killing spree. He constantly killed wild beasts. Chapter 3488. The wild beasts that appeared in the forest were not very strong. The strongest one was only in the 6th layer of King God realm. They posed no threat to Lu Ming. Lu Ming killed many wild beasts along the way. A large number of wild beasts were killed by Lu Ming. In a short while, hundreds of wild beasts had been killed. Almost all the wild beasts in the forest had been killed. Lu Ming left the forest and went to other places to look for wild beasts. Just as Lu Ming was focused on killing the wild beasts, 6 figures flashed and surrounded Lu Ming. He is from the Taishu dynasty. Aha, we are in luck. If we kill him, the sacred emperor will reward us. Not bad, not bad. The 6 of them sneered and rushed towards Lu Ming. Obviously, they were the geniuses of the Tianyi Holy Dynasty. If you don't want to die, get lost, Lu Ming said coldly. Among these 6 people, the one with the highest cultivation level was only in the 7th Divine King realm. Perhaps he was considered the top among the younger generation in the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty. However, compared with Lu Ming, he was far behind. This guy is really arrogant. I have studied the strongest geniuses of the Taishu dynasty. There is no such person. Brothers, let's kill him. The leader of the group, a young man in a yellow robe, shouted coldly. Then he rushed towards Lu Ming and attacked him violently. The other 5 people also attacked fiercely. These people were undoubtedly geniuses. They were the top geniuses of the younger generation in the Taishu dynasty. Otherwise, they would not have participated in this competition. However, they were unlucky to have met Lu Ming. I have given you a chance, but you did not cherish it. Then I will send you to hell, Lu Ming said coldly. Then he threw out a punch. Brr, brr, brr. A series of dragon roars resounded through the sky. Following that, 6 9-clawed divine dragons appeared and pounced at the 6 young men. Ever since Lu Ming's primordial divine body had transformed from the primordial divine body to the primordial divine dragon body and cultivated the primordial divine blood, his divine power and secret arts related to dragons had evolved. For example, Lu Ming's primordial dragon power had become even more powerful. Even the divine dragon aspect technique had undergone a transformation. The 9 dragons that were condensed had an even thicker dragon aura and an astonishing aura. Each dragon was filled with an ancient and desolate aura. Their battle prowess was much stronger than before. 6 9 dragons lunged at the 6 young men. Not good. As soon as Lu Ming made his move, the expressions of the 6 youths changed greatly. They felt an extraordinary pressure that made their hearts tremble. They wanted to retreat and escape, but it was already too late. Bang bang bung, a series of explosions rang out, and the 6 youths died on the spot. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming kept the 6 storage rings. In a flash, he left the place and continued to hunt wild beasts. Lu Ming's speed in hunting wild beasts was very fast. After a day, Lu Ming's jade pendant shone brightly. This meant that the souls of the wild beasts had been accumulated. Then the jade pendant shone and a map appeared. On the map, there was a line that extended to the left. At the end of the line, there was a shining light spot. Found it. The promotion token is here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, in a flash, he flew in that direction according to the map. Lu Ming was still quite a distance away from that location. Along the way, Lu Ming met many people. Some were from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty, and some were from the Taishu Dynasty. It's Lu Ming. He's heading in that direction. Quickly spread the news. Some people communicated secretly. Some people from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty overestimated themselves and wanted to attack Lu Ming. However, they were all killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming took a full day to reach the end of the map. I hope it's not too late. It hasn't been taken by others. Lu Ming thought to himself as he looked ahead. In front of him, there was a huge mountain that towered into the clouds. According to the map, the promotion token was at the top of this mountain. However, in the sky above the mountain peak, there was a layer of dark clouds. Upon closer inspection, it was clear that it was not a dark cloud, but a type of black insects. They were densely packed and their numbers were innumerable. It was impossible to tell how many there were. Iron-devouring worm. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. If there were only one or a few of these iron-devouring worms, it would be easy to deal with them. However, when there were many of them, it was not easy to deal with them. They could burrow into the bodies of living creatures and devour their vitality. Roar, 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 roar. At the same time, the roars of wild beasts could be heard from the mountain. It was very terrifying. Obviously, there were many powerful wild beasts living in the mountain. Obviously, the Taishu dynasty and the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty had made arrangements. It would not be easy to get the promotion token. Let's go up the mountain, Lu Ming said in a low voice. He then dashed up the mountain. Relatively speaking, it was easier to go up the mountain. There were so many iron-devouring worms in the sky. It would be more difficult to deal with them. When Lu Ming rushed into the mountain, a wild beast pounced on Lu Ming with a roar. It brought a gust of wind with it. It was very powerful. Seventh realm of the King God realm. Lu Ming immediately judged that it was a wild beast in the seventh realm of the King God realm. It was stronger than the wild beast he had encountered before. However, it was nothing to Lu Ming. With a punch, the wild beast exploded. Lu Ming rushed to the top of the mountain. However, along the way there were many wild beasts. Wild beasts kept pouncing on him. The wild beasts here were all in the seventh realm of the King God realm. Even if a genius was not in the seventh realm of the King God realm, he would be killed if he was surrounded by so many wild beasts. Even a genius would have to be in the eighth realm of the King God realm to break through the encirclement and reach the top. Boom, boom. Lu Ming constantly waved his fists and the desolate beasts exploded one by one. Very soon, Lu Ming killed his way out and rushed to the mountainside. However, Lu Ming stopped when he reached this point. That was because there were fewer wild beasts here. The ground was littered with the corpses of wild beasts. In front of him there were two groups of people fighting fiercely. Lu Ming recognized one of them. It was Lin Ke, one of the 9 great generals of the Taishu dynasty. Lu Ming looked around and saw the situation clearly. There were two groups of people. One group was from the Taishu dynasty and the other group was from the Tianyi sacred dynasty. The two groups were fighting fiercely. It seems that these people also know the location of the promotion token. Lu Ming frowned. When they saw Lu Ming coming, the two groups stopped and confronted each other. Obviously they were afraid of a new person. Lu Ming. After seeing Lu Ming, Lin Ke's eyes flashed coldly. He is from the Taishu dynasty. The people from the Tianyi sacred dynasty frowned and looked pale. Those who could reach this place were not weak. They were all very strong. Now that the Taishu dynasty had a new expert, they were at a disadvantage. Everyone, how about we cooperate? Lin Ke sent a message to the people from the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Chapter 3489. Cooperate. The people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were all puzzled. Lin Ke had just fought with them, but now he wanted to cooperate with them. Was he trying to trick them? Yes, to tell you the truth, this person is called Lu Ming and he has a great hatred for me. I must kill him. If you cooperate with me to kill him, I will not compete with you for the promotion token here. I will give it to you. Lin Ke continued. Really? The eyes of the people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty lit up. Of course it's true. I can swear. Lin Ke said. The last time, Lu Ming had humiliated him greatly. During this period of time, he had been ridiculed by countless people. He had been thinking of killing Lu Ming all the time to vent the hatred in his heart. He did not care about the promotion token at all. Okay, we agree. The people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty agreed. For them this was a great thing. They had no choice but to agree. Otherwise, if Lu Ming and Lin Ke were to join forces, they would be in danger. Now, if they joined forces with Lin Ke, they could kill Lu Ming and get the promotion token. Why not? There was no reason not to agree. Swoosh, swoosh. Lin Ke and the people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty surrounded Lu Ming. Joining forces? Lin Ke, it seems that you really want to kill me. Lu Ming was so smart that he guessed it at a glance. However, his face was still very calm. With his current combat strength, he was not afraid of anyone in the younger generation. At least for forces like the Taishu dynasty and the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Lu Ming, today is the day you die. Lin Ke's eyes were ferocious. Do you really think that you can kill me with trash like you? Lu Ming said lightly. What did you say? Lu Ming's words made the people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty furious. In Lu Ming's eyes they were trash? Unforgivable. Boy, are you one of the 9 general stars of the Taishu dynasty? I have studied the 9 general stars. You are not one of them. A young man from the Tianyi sacred dynasty shouted coldly. I'm not one of the 9 great generals. I'm a new batch of students from the Great Void Imperial Academy. You haven't studied me? Lu Ming smiled. A new batch of students from the Great Void Imperial Academy? Haha, what's there to study about these rookies? They're too inexperienced. How dare a rookie act so arrogant? Lin Ke actually wants to join forces with us? What a joke. I'll kill you with one punch. A young man from the Tianyi sacred dynasty laughed and stepped out. He threw a punch at Lu Ming. Boom. The void shook violently as a terrifying fist imprint blasted towards Lu Ming's head. That young man was very strong. He had reached the 8th heavenly king god realm. Moreover, he was a top genius, second only to the 9 great generals. But in Lu Ming's eyes it was trash. Seeing that the fist was about to hit Lu Ming's head, Lu Ming still stood there motionless. However, Lu Ming's face was still calm. When the fist was only 10 centimeters away from his head, Lu Ming suddenly moved. He reached out and grabbed the young man's wrist. Then the young man stiffened and could not move. How is this possible? The young man's eyes widened and his face was full of disbelief. His full-strength attack was caught by Lu Ming. Crack. Lu Ming squeezed hard. The young man's arm was twisted and his bones were completely broken. Ah! The young man let out a shrill scream. Let go. At that moment, another young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty shouted. But Lu Ming was unmoved. Boy, I told you to let go. Didn't you hear me? Are you deaf? The young man shouted again. He stepped out and was about to kill Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming's hand shook and a violent force erupted. The young man in his hand flew out and crashed into a mountain peak. He did not look like he was going to survive. You're courting death. Let's kill him together. The young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty shouted. Let's attack together. Lin Ke also shouted and led a few people to attack. Those people were Lin Ke's good friends. Naturally, they would help Lin Ke deal with Lu Ming. You're courting death. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Then, the battle character skill instantly increased his combat strength by 4 times. The divine power in his body surged wildly. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming punched more than a dozen times in a row. More than a dozen terrifying fist forces burst out and pierced through the void. A series of screams and explosions rang out. Then 2 figures retreated wildly. Indeed, there were only 2 figures that frantically retreated because the others were all blasted apart, directly falling. The remaining 2 people were Lin Ke and the young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty who had just scolded Lu Ming. The young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty was also very strong. He was not weaker than Lin Quebec previously, he had blocked Lin Quebec. The 2 of them retreated and crashed into a mountain rock. Blood spurted from their mouths and they were seriously injured. 5 years ago, when Lu Ming was still in the 8th realm of the Divine King realm, he could easily suppress Lin Ke without using the secret skill of origin. Now that he had broken through to the 9th realm of the Divine King realm, Lin Ke was no match for him. How is this possible? You've broken through again. Lin Ke shouted in shock. 5 years ago, he had been defeated by Lu Ming. He had always thought that he had been careless. Otherwise he would not have lost so badly. This time, there were so many of them and they had joined forces with the people from the Chinese sacred dynasty. He had thought that they could kill Lu Ming. However, he had never expected that Lu Ming's strength would be even more abnormal. So many people had been defeated by Lu Ming. Horror. At this moment, there was only endless horror in Lin Ke's heart. Lin Ke, you tricked me. The young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty shouted and regretted it very much. Lu Ming's strength was too terrifying. It was comparable to the top geniuses of the Chinese sacred dynasty. Lin Ke had asked them to besiege Lu Ming. It was simply courting death. I've said that you're courting death. Lu Ming said coldly. Once again he threw out a punch. A fist strength blasted toward the young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty. The young man from the Chinese sacred dynasty shouted in horror and tried his best to escape. However, he was seriously injured. How could he escape? All his escape routes were blocked by Lu Ming's fist strength. As the fist strength fell, the young man screamed and died on the spot. A genius who was not weaker than Lin Ke was killed just like that. On the other side, Lin Ke was so scared that he almost wet himself. Lu Ming, don't kill me. You can't kill me. I'm with the Crown Prince. If you kill me, the Crown Prince will not let you go. You have to know that the Sacred Emperor doesn't have much time left. The Crown Prince will definitely succeed the throne. If you kill me, you will offend the future Sacred Emperor. Lin Ke shouted. He wanted to scare Lu Ming by mentioning the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince? Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly and said, I will kill the Crown Prince sooner or later. What? Lin Ke was stunned. What did Lu Ming say? He wants to kill the Crown Prince? Madman, is he a madman? No, don't. Lin Ke was terrified and wanted to escape. However, Lu Ming caught up and killed Lin Ke with a punch. Chapter 3490. After killing Lin Ke, Lu Ming took their storage rings and headed to the peak of the mountain. Everything went smoothly. Even when a rank 9 Divine King Realm wild beast appeared, it couldn't stop Lu Ming. Very soon Lu Ming arrived at the peak of the mountain. However, there was a person at the peak of the mountain. A young man hugged a long sword and stood there quietly. Di Jianni. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The young man was Di Jianni. It was obvious that he had arrived earlier than Lu Ming. Behind Di Jianni, there was a sacrificial altar with a token floating above it. It was obvious that it was a promotion token. Lu Ming, you are finally here. Di Jian's eyes shot out two rays of resplendent sword light as he stared at Lu Ming. You were waiting for me? Lu Ming asked. That's right. Di Jian spoke in a cold voice. The sword aura on his body surged and it was shocking. You want the origin ancient word on me, right? Great, I want the origin ancient word on you too. Lu Ming spoke indifferently. The aura on his body became stronger and stronger and he was surrounded by rays of divine light. You know that I have the origin ancient word on me? Di Jian was stunned and he was surprised. Since you know about me, why wouldn't I know about you? Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, You were the one who tried to assassinate me on the battlefield back then, right? Looks like I thought that I hid it well. I didn't expect you to see through me. However, it doesn't matter. From today onwards, there will be no more Lu Ming in this world. Your origin ancient word will belong to me and help me reach the peak. Di Jian's eyes shone brightly. You are very confident. However, you will be disappointed because you can't do it. Lu Ming said. He was also very confident. Even if Di Jian didn't look for him today, he would look for Di Jian. He had to take revenge for what happened back then. Can't do it? I don't mind telling you that no one in the Taishu dynasty could make me use my full strength. When I tried to assassinate you, I didn't use my full strength either. I came from a small world and have experienced countless battles in my life. Who knows how many geniuses have fallen at my feet? You Lu Ming will not be an exception. Di Jian's voice was like a divine sword, sonorous and powerful. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a divine sword, shattering the firmament. That's exactly what I want to say. Lu Ming said. You're also from the small world? This time Di Jian was really shocked. Then he laughed out loud, good. There is a legend that those who can walk out of a small world and rise up quickly are the main characters of a world. They are destined to be extraordinary. Today I will kill you, the main character of this world, to make myself stronger. Clang. As soon as his voice fell, a dazzling sword light violently slashed toward Lu Ming, as if it wanted to split the sky in half. Boom. At the same time Lu Ming also moved. He threw out a punch and a dazzling fist force collided with Di Jian's sword light. There was an earth-shattering explosion, forming a terrifying force wave that swept out in all directions, causing the ground to be in a mess. Ninth Heaven King God Realm. Lu Ming's eyes moved. This time he truly felt that Di Jian's cultivation had reached Ninth Heaven King God Realm. Di Jian was the same as him. He was a new student of the Great Void Imperial Family Saint Academy. He was younger than the 9 great generals. It was unexpected that his cultivation base had reached the 9th Divine King layer. Apparently, Di Jian was also very lucky and his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. Back when he attacked Lu Ming at the barbarian tribe battlefield, his cultivation was far from 9th Heaven King God Realm. Apparently he had made great progress over the years. Stop probing. Go all out. Lu Ming said. There was a loud explosion from his body. After a few attempts, he had successfully triggered the battle character incantation to increase his fighting strength by 5 times. He clenched his fist and the overbearing god spear appeared in his hand. Bam! Lu Ming took a step forward and the ground exploded. Lu Ming's body turned into a gust of wind and charged towards Di Jian. The overbearing god spear pressed down. The void shook violently and the huge spear pressed down on Di Jian like Mount Tai. Clang! There was a loud sword chime and a resplendent sword light clashed with the overbearing god spear. There was a loud explosion and a violent force swept out in all directions. Then the long sword in Di Jian's hand shook continuously. In the end there was a loud bang and it exploded into pieces. Di Jian retreated and hit a huge rock that was a few hundred meters tall. The huge rock was smashed into pieces. Impressive. Impressive. Lu Ming, you are more impressive than I had imagined. Di Jian smiled. However, there was an even stronger fighting spirit on his face. Still want to test me? Lu Ming said coldly. It was obvious that Di Jian had not used his full strength earlier. His battle sword was only an ordinary monarch-grade battle sword and not a secret skill of the origin. Hence, it had been shattered by Lu Ming. Lu Ming, in a battle of the same level, you are the strongest person that I have met. Come on. Let's see if you can give me a good fight. Di Jian let out a soaring fighting spirit. Above his head, a stone battle sword floated and was held in his hand. It was the secret skill of the origin. Then there was a shocking sword light that pierced through the clouds from Di Jian's body. Die. Di Jian roared and slashed with his battle sword. It was shockingly fast and slashed towards Lu Ming. At the same time, Lu Ming moved and charged towards Di Jian. The resplendent spear light looked as though it was going to pierce through the heavens. Boom. The two of them collided and there was a destructive storm that swept out in all directions. Then the two of them retreated at the same time. However, in the next moment, the two of them charged towards each other and collided again. In the sky, there was a sword light and a spear light that collided with each other continuously. Their speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. They were evenly matched. After exchanging dozens of blows, there was no clear winner. Such strong power. The divine skill that Di Jinni has cultivated is extremely shocking. Lu Ming was shocked. He felt that Di Jinni's divine power was extremely terrifying. His divine power was as though it was formed by countless tiny sword auras. It was extremely condensed and sharp. It was indestructible and it was many times stronger than an ordinary divine power. Moreover, Di Jinni's origin divine power factor had also been awakened 4 times. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was also in the 9th heaven of King God realm, any single type of divine power would not be able to compete with Di Jinni's divine power. Only by circulating 11 types of divine power at the same time could he barely suppress Di Jinni's divine power. Lu Ming guessed that Di Jinni definitely did not cultivate an ordinary skill. Just like the Universe 10,000 Tao scripture, it was also an extremely rare and terrifying skill. The divine power that was cultivated was extremely powerful. Moreover, the space between Di Jinni's eyebrows was glowing as though it was giving off boundless sword essence. This caused the power of every stroke of Di Jinni to be extremely powerful. One should know that Lu Ming's cultivation was the same as Di Jinni's, which was in the 9th heaven of King God realm. However, Lu Ming had the support of the battle character art which increased his fighting power by 5 times and 11 types of divine power. Even so, he was unable to do anything to Di Jinni. Could be seen that Di Jinni also had terrifying support. Firstly, it was the terrifying divine power. Secondly, it was related to the sword essence in the space between his eyebrows. Chapter 3491. I know. His origin source ancient character is sword. It's that guy Sword. The quantifying character formula shouted. Sword? This guy's origin ancient word is sword. No wonder his sword skills are so terrifying. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Di Jinni had originally cultivated the sword and he had also obtained one of the origin ancient words, sword. It could be said that they complemented each other and Di Jinni's attacks were extremely powerful. Lu Ming was shocked but he didn't know that Di Jinni was even more shocked. He was a person with great luck. He had fought his way up from a small thousand world. When he came to the chaotic universe, he had a fortuitous encounter and possessed a terrifying divine skill. He also controlled the origin ancient word, sword, which allowed his attacks to be extremely powerful. In a battle of the same level, no one could match up against him. No matter how strong a supreme talent was, they would be instantly killed by him in a battle of the same level. But then he had met Lu Ming. In a battle of the same level, Lu Ming could match up against him. Moreover, after dozens of moves, Di Jinni was no match for Lu Ming. He was slightly suppressed and was in a disadvantageous position. To him this was unimaginable. Rumble, rumble, rumble. After dozens of moves, Lu Ming became fiercer and fiercer. As for Di Jinni, he started to retreat. Di Jinni, show me what you have. Today I will show you what it means to be the strongest among the same level. Lu Ming roared and his tyrannical god spear shook continuously. It turned into a few hundred spear lights and charged towards Di Jinni. Let me show you. Flying snow divine sword, roaring flame divine sword, holy light divine sword. Di Jinni roared and the sword intention on his body became stronger. Then different fighting swords appeared one after another. There were fighting swords that were emitting chilliness, fighting swords that were filled with flames, fighting swords that were extremely bright, fighting swords that were as dark as the abyss. There was a total of 9 fighting swords and every sword was filled with different attributes. This is the secret skill of origin? No, it's not the secret skill of origin. It's a normal secret skill. Lu Ming's heart stirred. It wasn't the secret skill of origin but other secret skills. However, it was clear that these were different secret techniques. Each sword represented a secret technique. Di Jinni's talent in sword principle was terrifying. He had mastered so many secret skills of sword principle. When he attacked, he used 9 different secret skills of sword principle. Kill. The Emperor's sword let out a long whistle and 9 different divine swords turned into resplendent sword lights that attacked Lu Ming from all directions. They attacked Lu Ming from all directions. Sword chi howled, shaking the heavens and earth. Lu Ming seemed to be sealed in a sword array. Let's see who has more secret techniques. The Sovereign's Gate, the Voidbreaker Sword, and the Sky Devil Blade. Lu Ming shouted. Above his head, secret techniques of origin appeared one after another, emitting an ancient and desolate aura as they flew towards the battle swords. Boom boom boom, another terrifying collision occurred. Then, the battle swords of different attributes trembled incessantly and were sent flying. In the end, the power of the origin source secret technique was still slightly stronger. Source secret techniques, they're all source secret techniques. Lu Ming, you're really cultivating an ancient cultivation method. Di Jinni's voice was solemn. He had thought that Lu Ming was cultivating an ancient cultivation method and could control many kinds of divine power. Otherwise, how could he block his divine power? Kill? Lu Ming shouted coldly. His pupils turned into two whirlpools. This was the Yin-Yang God Eyes. Then Yin-Yang runes appeared around Di Jinni and surrounded him. Then Lu Ming took a step forward. In the sky, 9 dragons appeared. There were 108 dragons that roared and pounced towards Di Jinni. Following closely behind were various origin source secret techniques. As for Lu Ming, he stepped on the Wind Destroyer boots and charged toward Di Jinni like a phantom. Lu Ming, you're the first to force me to this stage. Di Jinni roared. The stone sword in his hand suddenly exploded with a terrifying sword essence. Then a sword aura soared into the sky and stirred up the wind and clouds. The terrifying sword aura swept across the void. The Yin-Yang runes were the first to be slashed apart by the sword aura. Then, the sword aura bombarded all the divine dragon celestial appearances and the 9 dragons exploded one after another. Wherever the sword aura passed, nothing could block it. Even the ruler's gate and void-shattering sword were sent flying. In the end, the sword aura slashed the tyrannical deity spear. The tyrannical deity spear vibrated and Lu Ming was sent flying by a terrifying force. Secret technique of origin, I severed a shackle. Lu Ming muttered. That's right. My secret technique of origin has severed a shackle. Lu Ming, what about you? You've cultivated so many secret techniques of origin and have diverted too much of your energy. It's almost impossible for you to sever a shackle. Di Jinni said. Although his voice was calm, anyone could hear the pride and confidence in it. To be able to sever a shackle, I have to admit that you're very powerful. However, do you think that you're the only one who can sever a shackle? Lu Ming's voice was heard. Then a terrifying aura was emitted from the tyrannical deity spear. Di Jinni's pupils contracted rapidly and he was extremely shocked. He had never expected Lu Ming to be able to sever a shackle. He had originally thought that among the younger generation of the Taishu dynasty, he was the only one who had severed a shackle on the secret technique of origin. In his heart there was one more Lu Ming. Great. Lu Ming, you've indeed exceeded my expectations. However, you're only worthy for me to kill you. You're worthy for me to use my full strength. Di Jinni was only shocked for a moment. Then he revealed a strong fighting spirit and excitement. Yes, Lu Ming's strength had completely aroused his competitive spirit and killing intent. Clang clang clang. Di Jinni's body continuously emitted sword chimes. It was as though 10,000 swords were chiming in unison. Countless sword chi burst out from his body and made him look extremely resplendent. Sword chi. At that moment, in Lu Ming's eyes, every muscle, every bone and even every hair on Di Jinni's body had turned into sword chi. Is this elemental spirit sword body? Has he finally used it? It seems that Di Jinni has already used his full strength. Lu Ming muttered. Lu Ming had long known that Di Jinni had mastered a terrifying secret technique of body constitution, elemental spirit sword body. Di Jinni's talent in sword principle was heaven-defying. In addition to the origin ancient word, sword, his elemental spirit sword body had probably been cultivated to a shocking level. Lu Ming, under my full strength, die. Di Jinni roared. Then he waved his hand and the stone sword in his hand slashed out. A boundless sword light that was a few million miles long slashed towards Lu Ming. Within a few million miles, the sword light could be seen. When the other supreme talents in the vicinity saw the sword light, they were almost scared to death. What a terrifying sword light. Who released it? Could it be one of the few Sir God realm existences that released it? It's too terrifying. Even an ordinary Sir God isn't that powerful. Many people roared in shock and their faces turned pale. Then they ran as far as they could and didn't dare to go near the area where the sword light was released. Chapter 3492. As Emperor Jinni slashed out, the 9 different types of divine swords also charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face was solemn as he activated the power in his body to the extreme. Boundless divine power was continuously channeled into various origin source secret techniques, allowing the origin source secret techniques to explode with the strongest power. Boom. The two of them collided again as various attacks were exchanged. This time the sky was torn apart. Terrifying cracks appeared in the sky. Terrifying energy fell to the ground. However, runes appeared on the ground, forming a huge formation that blocked all the attacks. This world had been modified by the people of the Taishu dynasty and Tianyi sacred dynasty. Runes and arrays were everywhere as they were afraid of being destroyed. The two of them fought intensely, and in an instant, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Boom. Lu Ming's body retreated. A sword wound appeared on his shoulder and blood flowed out. His shoulder was almost chopped off. Lu Ming, is this all you've got? Then die today. Emperor Jianghu roared, and his fighting power was at its peak. A pair of wings appeared on his back. The wings were formed by sword qi, and they allowed his speed to reach a shocking level. The sword qi wings flapped, and Emperor Jianghu turned into a ray of sword light. With terrifying sword pressure, he charged towards Lu Ming. Boom. Boom. The two of them exchanged another blow. Then Lu Ming retreated. It's indeed powerful. Emperor Jianghu's original spirit sword body has reached a terrifying level. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Looks like I don't have to use the primordial divine body to be Emperor Jianghu's match. Lu Ming muttered. Emperor Jianghu's power was absolutely terrifying. He was even stronger than Murong Qiu Shui, whom he had met in the primordial divine world. When Lu Ming had defeated Murong Qiu Shui, his cultivation was only in the 8th heaven of King God realm. Now, Lu Ming's cultivation level had reached the 9th heaven of the Divine King realm, which was the same as Di Jianghu's. It could be said that he was not weaker than the top geniuses in terms of cultivation level. However, Di Jianghu was the first in history to be able to fight him to this extent. There had never been anyone who could fight with Lu Ming to such an extent. Lu Ming, I'll send you on your way. Emperor Jianghu's cold voice resounded as he slashed his sword down once again. The void shook like waves. Do you think that you're the only one who has cultivated the secret body constitution? Lu Ming stood in the air, and his cold voice could be heard. At this moment, a drop of primordial divine blood in his heart was activated and seeped into his entire body. Brr. An earth-shattering dragon roar was emitted from Lu Ming's body. At this moment, Lu Ming was filled with endless power. Primordial divine blood. The tyrannical god's spear shook vigorously and swept out. It turned into a resplendent spear light and collided with Di Jianghu's attack. Dong. This time, the entire sky within a radius of a few million miles shook violently. It was as though a piece of paper was being blown by the wind. In the middle of the collision, there was a resplendent radiance that was like the sun. Then a figure retreated. It was Emperor Jianghu. This time, Emperor Jianghu was the one who retreated. As for Lu Ming, his body only shook a little. You still have a trump card? How is that possible? This time, Emperor Jianghu couldn't stay calm. His eyes opened wide as he roared in disbelief. Lu Ming had more trump cards than him. How was that possible? He had never come across such a situation before. Do you still have a trump card? Use all of them. Kill. Lu Ming bellowed. He stepped on Wind Destroyer boots and charged towards Emperor Jianghu like a ray of light. I don't believe it. Emperor Jianghu bellowed and charged towards Lu Ming. The two of them fought fiercely again. This time, the two of them went all out and didn't hold back any trump cards. The two of them fought fiercely. However, Emperor Jianghu was at a disadvantage. He was suppressed by Lu Ming and kept retreating. He was no match for him. Although his primordial spirit sword body was strong, it was still a far cry from Lu Ming's primitive divine body. Bam! Emperor Jianghu was swept by the spear radiance and his body almost exploded. Many of his bones were broken. He retreated and spat out blood. Heaven Sword Wheel. Emperor Jianghu bellowed. The stone sword in his hand flew out and formed a sword wheel with the other 9 divine swords of different attributes. Then it charged towards Lu Ming. The sword wheel rotated at a shocking speed and it could crush everything. Dang. Lu Ming waved his heavenly sword and hit the sword wheel. The sword wheel shook violently and flew out. Emperor Jianghu, you will definitely lose today. Lu Ming said coldly, and the heavenly sword continued to attack. Emperor Jianghu bellowed and controlled the sword wheel to block with all his might. Dang, dang, dang. Terrifying vibrations could be heard continuously. In an instant, Lu Ming had attacked more than 10 times. In the end, the sword wheel couldn't take it anymore and it exploded. The 9 divine swords of different attributes exploded and disappeared. Cracks had also appeared on the surface of the stone sword. Boom. Lu Ming struck out with his sword again, hitting the stone combat sword. This time, the stone combat sword shattered. Emperor Jianghu shook violently and blood spurted out of his mouth as he retreated. Lu Ming stepped out and chased after Emperor Jianghu. The spear radiance wreaked havoc as though it was going to pierce the sky. Emperor Jianghu kept flashing and wanted to dodge. However, he was still one step too slow. He was swept by the spear radiance and one of his arms exploded. Emperor Jianghu bellowed and didn't continue to fight. He turned into a sword light and flew far away. He wanted to escape. Emperor Jianghu felt humiliated and his heart was filled with murderous intent. In a battle between peers, he had never had such an experience. Escape? In a battle between peers, he had never thought of escaping. However, this time around he had lost. He had lost completely. If he didn't leave, he would die here. He had to leave. He firmly believed that he would become stronger in the future and he would kill Lu Ming. Wanna leave? Stay. Lu Ming's eyes were cold and he was filled with murderous intent. He had to kill Emperor Jianghu. Previously, Emperor Jianghu had launched a sneak attack on him and wanted to steal his origin ancient word. Since they were enemies, he couldn't be left alive. In actual fact, Lu Ming wasn't a narrow-minded person and he wasn't a greedy person. Even if he came across other people who had origin ancient word, he wouldn't take the initiative to steal it. If others could get it, it would be his opportunity. However, if others wanted to kill him and steal his origin ancient word, it would be a different story. Lu Ming chased after Emperor Jianghu at a shocking speed. The Tyrant God's spear stabbed continuously and the sky was filled with resplendent spear radiance. Emperor Jianghu turned into a sword light and dodged continuously. However, he was severely injured and his speed was greatly affected. He couldn't dodge at all. After dodging over 10 moves, he was finally swept by a spear radiance and his lower body exploded. Of course, at their level, their vitality was very tenacious. Even so, Emperor Jianghu was still escaping at a shocking speed. Chapter 3493. However, Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he chased after Jianghu. This part of the sky was originally covered by densely packed iron-devouring bugs. However, the battle between Lu Ming and Jianghu earlier was too intense. The terrifying force swept in all directions. Countless iron-devouring bugs were engulfed by the force of the two of them and turned into ashes. Now the sky was empty. Jianghu's speed was shocking and he flew out a few thousand miles in the blink of an eye. However, Lu Ming's speed was even faster. With the combination of 9 Heaven Kunpeng skill and Wind Destroyer boots, he turned into a streamer and quickly approached Jianghu. His Tyrant God spear shook and there were dozens of spear lights that pierced through the void towards Jianghu, sealing off all of Jianghu's escape routes. With a bang, another spear light hit Jianghu's body. Only half of his body was left and his body exploded. In the end, only his head was left and it flew forward. He had not given up and was still struggling. His willpower was shockingly firm. In this aspect he was very similar to Lu Ming. Until the last moment he would definitely not give up. Die. Lu Ming quickly closed in and a mountain-like spear light pressed down on Jianghu. Rumble. The huge spear light completely covered Jianghu's head. He had nowhere to run. When the spear landed he would definitely die. However, at that moment, there was a resplendent radiance in between Jianghu's eyebrows. Lu Ming saw that there was a word, sword, in between Jianghu's eyebrows and it was shining with radiance. Then a terrifying sword light burst out from the word, sword, and swept across the sky. It was extremely terrifying and it slashed Lu Ming's spear light. It caused Lu Ming's spear light to shake violently and then it was slashed into two. Lu Ming's face changed and he quickly retreated. He only managed to stabilize himself after retreating a few thousand miles away. On his chest there was an additional sword wound. It was so deep that his bones could be seen and blood was flowing out. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jianghu turned into a sword light and with a few flashes he disappeared. Damn it. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. He had never expected that at the crucial moment, the origin ancient word, sword, would actually unleash such a terrifying attack that repelled Lu Ming and allowed Emperor Jianghu to escape. How can someone else's origin ancient characters be so powerful? Lu Ming mumbled, feeling extremely envious. Take him for example. Although he had 2 origin ancient characters like the battle character, he was completely passive and could only unleash several times his battle prowess. However, he would never attack on his own. As for the quantification formula, it was even more so. This sentence was heard by the quantifying formula. Immediately the quantifying formula cried out, "Kid, what do you mean? Are you looking down on me? I'm so angry. Let me tell you, there are different types of origin ancient characters. That sword character focuses on offense, and its offensive power is unparalleled. It's normal for it to take the initiative to attack. As for me, I'm a support type. I can store divine power, but can the other origin ancient characters do the same? I can refine energy to increase your cultivation speed. Can the other ancient characters do the same? Without me, would your cultivation progress be so fast? The quantifying formula cried out unhappily. Lu Ming was speechless and quickly admitted his mistake. Otherwise, he would be annoyed to death by the quantifying formula. However, he felt that it was a pity that Emperor Jinni had escaped. He had to admit that Emperor Jinni was extremely terrifying. Among all the enemies that he had encountered in his life, he was the most terrifying one. He had great luck, improved at a godly speed, and his battle prowess was even more shocking. He had given Lu Ming quite a bit of pressure. If he didn't die today, he would definitely become even more terrifying in the future. He would be a great opponent for Lu Ming. If I can defeat you today, I will naturally be able to defeat you in the future. Lu Ming muttered. His eyes were filled with strong confidence. If he could defeat Emperor Jinni now, he would definitely be able to defeat Emperor Jinni in the future. Moreover, the gap between him and Emperor Jinni would only increase. This was his confidence. This was a kind of invincible confidence. Immediately after, Lu Ming's body flashed and returned to the peak of the mountain. The promotion jade token was still there. After the battle between him and Emperor Jinni, no one dared to go near the area. Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the promotion jade token. After keeping the promotion jade token, Lu Ming waited quietly. There were a total of 16 promotion jade tokens. As long as the 16 promotion jade tokens were obtained, the array of this world would be activated and send them out. Lu Ming didn't have to wait for too long. After about a day, runes suddenly appeared in the sky. Then a light pillar enveloped Lu Ming. He felt his body sway and he left the place. In the next moment he appeared in midair. He looked around and realized that he had already appeared in midair above the square in Taishu Sage capital. Around him, figures appeared continuously. They were the supreme talents of the Taishu dynasty and Tianyi Sacred dynasty. However, the number of people was much less than when they had entered. Obviously, many people had died in the battle. Emperor Jinni. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he saw Emperor Jinni's figure not far away. At this moment, Emperor Jinni had already formed a body. However, his face was pale and his aura was weak. He also saw Lu Ming and his eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. Lu Ming also revealed his murderous intent. He really wanted to kill Emperor Jinni. However, it was obviously impossible. The Saint King, Crown Prince and the rest were all here. It was unrealistic. Why is Lu Ming not dead? At this moment, the Crown Prince and the Imperial Advisor also stared at Lu Ming and were extremely surprised. Especially the Imperial Advisor, he was roaring in his heart and was unable to restrain his anger. Lu Ming was actually not dead. How could this be? Could it be that Emperor Jinni didn't find him? They were well aware of Di Jinni's abilities. They felt that given Di Jinni's abilities, he would definitely be able to kill Lu Ming without a doubt. However, they had never expected that Lu Ming was actually not dead. Then they looked at Emperor Jinni and realized that Emperor Jinni's aura was extremely weak and he looked like he had been severely injured. Could it be that Lu Ming had injured Emperor Jinni? Their hearts trembled and they shook their heads frantically. Impossible. Emperor Jinni's strength was definitely extremely terrifying. Although he was in the 9th heaven of the Divine King realm, those few supreme talents in the Sir God realm might not be Emperor Jinni's match. They even thought that among the younger generation in the Taishu dynasty, there was no one who could be Emperor Jinni's match. However, Emperor Jinni was injured. How could this be? Could it be that Emperor Jinni was unlucky and encountered a Sir God realm wild beast? The Imperial Advisor thought to himself. In the world that Lu Ming and the rest had just entered, there were extremely terrifying wild beasts. Not only were there Sir God realm wild beasts, there were also Sir God realm wild beasts. Although there were very few Sir God realm wild beasts, there were still some. If one was unlucky, one would encounter one. Then they could only comfort themselves that Emperor Jinni was injured because he had encountered a Sir God realm wild beast. They were unwilling to believe that he was injured by Lu Ming. Emperor Jinni was a person with great luck. He had obtained many fortuitous encounters and his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. Moreover, the Crown Prince and the Imperial Advisor had spent a large amount of resources to help Emperor Jinni cultivate. How could Lu Ming improve so quickly? Chapter 3494. Everyone looked at Lu Ming and the others and different thoughts flashed through their minds. There are a lot fewer people. Many of them have disappeared. Indeed, Lin Ke has also disappeared. It seems that he has died inside. Most likely he was killed by the Tianyi Sacred dynasty. It must be. What a pity that a genius of a generation has fallen. Many people sighed. As for Lin Ke's family, their faces were pale. It was simply unacceptable. The Crown Prince's face was also extremely ugly. Lin Ke had pledged allegiance to the Crown Prince. With such talent he would definitely be a great general under the Crown Prince in the future. Unfortunately he had died. For the Crown Prince it was also a huge loss. Who among you has obtained an advancement token? Step forward. All of you, land on the fighting ring below. The Taishu Saint Emperor's voice rang out. Then one by one figures stepped forward and landed below. In the middle of the square below there was a huge fighting ring. One by one figures landed on the fighting ring. Lu Ming also moved and landed on the fighting ring. The people of the Taishu dynasty were fighting together, and the people of the Qianni sacred dynasty were standing together. There were exactly 16 people from the two sides combined. Everyone's eyes fell on the 16 of them. The Taishu dynasty had 7 people, and the Qianni sacred dynasty had 9 people. Many people's hearts trembled. There were a total of 16 people. The Taishu dynasty had 7 people, and the Qianni sacred dynasty had 9 people. The people of the Taishu dynasty had ugly expressions, but the people of the Qianni sacred dynasty were overjoyed. Impossible. The one who was the most shocked was the Taishu Saint Emperor. He suddenly stood up and stared at a young man in the air. He roared, "Hao Yin-Chin, how could you not have obtained an advancement token?" The Taishu Saint Emperor stared at a young man in a purple robe. This young man in a purple robe was called Hao Yin-Chin. Almost everyone in the Taishu dynasty knew him because he was the leader of the 9 great generals and was known as the top genius of the Taishu dynasty. It was said that his cultivation had reached the Divine Lord realm long ago, and his strength was unfathomable. With his strength it was very easy for him to obtain an advancement token. Now why was he eliminated? Not only the Taishu Saint Emperor, but the people of the Taishu dynasty and the Qianni sacred dynasty also looked at Hao Yin-Chin curiously. Hao Yin-Chen's face was a little pale, and his aura was a little weak. Clearly he was injured. Could it be that he had already fought with someone and lost? Your Majesty Saint Sovereign, I apologize. My luck was poor and I ran into an extremely strong Divine Lord Realm desolate beast. I was entangled by that desolate beast and was even injured. I was lucky enough to escape, so I didn't have the time to take the advancement token. Hao Yin-Chin explained helplessly. So that was how it was. Many people were moved. Hao Yin-Chin did not lose to someone else, but his luck was bad. He encountered an extremely terrifying desolate beast and was injured by it. Haha, Brother Jing, looks like your luck is not good. Looks like I'm the winner of this competition. You won't get the soul cultivating flower. Qianni Saint Emperor laughed loudly. Damn it. The Great Void Saint Emperor clenched his fists tightly. His face was extremely gloomy. Hao Yin-Chin was the key to this competition. As the top sky pride of the Taishu dynasty, he was eliminated in the first round. This had a huge impact on the outcome of the competition. It could be said that without Hao Yin-Chin, the Taishu dynasty was almost certain to lose. Damn it. Damn it. How could this be? The Great Void Saint Emperor roared in his heart. Hao Yin-Chin was an unparalleled sky pride that the royal family had secretly nurtured. The Great Void Saint Emperor placed great importance on this competition. He had invested a lot of resources on these sky prides so that they could win this competition and obtain the soul cultivating flower. As long as he could obtain the soul cultivating flower, he could live for another half a stellar year. With this time, anything was possible. He might even be able to break through and reach the next realm. However, without the soul cultivating flower he really could not live for long. He did not have much lifespan left. With Hao Yin-Chin eliminated, his hopes were dashed. The Great Void Saint Emperor's face was extremely ugly. Terrifying murderous intent spread in all directions. The heavens and earth were filled with a terrifying pressure. Many people broke out in cold sweat and almost knelt down. The Great Void Saint Emperor's strength was too terrifying. Brother Jing, calm down. At your level, can't you see past life and death? Qianni Saint Emperor sneered. He was obviously making sarcastic remarks. The higher one's cultivation level and status, the more they could not see past life and death. The Great Void Saint Emperor took a deep breath and slowly calmed down before sitting down. The competition has yet to begin. The outcome is still uncertain. The Great Void Saint Emperor said coldly. Is that so? Qianni Saint Emperor was full of smiles. No one noticed that the Crown Prince, who was by the side, had a smug smile on his face. All of this was naturally his handiwork. No one knew that Hao Yin-Chin had already submitted to the Crown Prince. Hao Yin-Chen's elimination this time was also arranged by the Crown Prince. He was the one who deliberately allowed Hao Yin-Chin to be eliminated. Encountering a powerful desolate beast was naturally an excuse. He did not want the Taishu dynasty to win. If the Taishu dynasty won, wouldn't the great Void Saint Emperor live for another half a stellar year? He could not wait any longer. In fact, even if Di Jinni could kill Lu Ming this time, Di Jinni would not take an advancement token because Di Jinni was too powerful. Everything was within the Crown Prince's expectations. The only one he did not expect was Lu Ming. It was a pity that Lu Ming was not killed by Di Jinni. However, Lu Ming actually obtained an advancement token. That's good. Who knows, he might be killed by the people from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty during the competition. The Crown Prince smiled in his heart. The Imperial Advisor obviously thought of this as well and revealed a look of anticipation. Haha, Hao Yinshin, you were actually eliminated in advance. What a pity. Originally, we wanted to determine the outcome of this competition. I did not expect you to be defeated in advance. With your defeat, the outcome of this competition has already been decided. On the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty's side, a youth laughed. This person had silver skin and was from a special tribe. Moreover, he was the top supreme talent of the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty. The Tianyi Sacred Dynasty and the Taishu Dynasty were close to each other. They competed and reconciled at times. The top supreme talents of both sides naturally knew each other. Hao Yinshin and the top supreme talent of the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty had fought before. The two of them had fought a total of 3 times and were evenly matched. This time, Hao Yinshin was eliminated in advance. Was there anyone in the Taishu dynasty who could be a match for him? Humph. Hao Tianshen's fake will snorted coldly and retreated to the side without saying a word. Alright, the candidates are out. Next, let's proceed to the second round. Meanwhile, Emperor Tianyi said, the rules of the second round are very simple. It's a 2-on-2 battle. Both sides will send out 1 person each. The victorious side can choose to rest temporarily or continue fighting. Just like that, the battles will continue until one side is completely defeated. Chapter 3495. This rule had been discussed by the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty and the Taishu Dynasty a long time ago. The Taishu Dynasty naturally had no objection to it. Now let's begin. Tianyi's Sacred Emperor announced. Suddenly, the two sides sized each other up in the fighting ring. There are 7 of them, but one of them is an unfamiliar face. A genius from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty said and looked at Lu Ming. There is indeed an unfamiliar face. The other 6 are 6 of the 9 great generals of the Taishu Dynasty. I have never seen that unfamiliar face before. He must be lucky to have gotten the promotion token. There is nothing to worry about. Several geniuses from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty started to discuss. Jianghu, you go first. Challenge that unknown boy. At this time, one of the 9 geniuses from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty looked at a skinny young man. Why do you want me to challenge that boy? The skinny young man was a little reluctant. That boy probably got the promotion token by luck. I don't think he is very strong. You are the weakest among the 9 of us. Who else should I challenge? Can you deal with the others? Another young man sneered. The skinny young man was furious. This was a blatant belittling of him, looking down on him. Telling him to deal with the weakest one, the meaning was clear. He couldn't deal with the others. Although the skinny young man was angry, there was nothing he could do. This was the truth. Letting him deal with Lu Ming was indeed the best choice. He stepped out and came to the middle of the fighting ring. His eyes fell on Lu Ming and he said, "Boy, come out and fight. You are the first to challenge me?" Lu Ming touched his nose helplessly. It seemed that he had been underestimated. He stepped out and stood opposite his opponent. He said, "Come on, use your full strength. I will give you a chance to make a move." Haha, this boy is so arrogant. He is indeed arrogant. He has not even entered the 9 great generals, but he is so arrogant. How ridiculous. Lu Ming's words made the geniuses from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty laugh. The skinny young man from the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty also smiled coldly and said, "Boy, this competition does not involve life and death. I wanted to spare your life, but now I have changed my mind." Boom. As his voice fell, a shocking aura erupted from the skinny youth's body. Dazzling divine light surrounded him. The 9th level of the God King realm and the Quintessence God Force had awakened for the 3rd time. Of course, the Quintessence secret technique had also been awakened. However, such strength was not much better than Lin Kei's. Lu Ming curled his lips casually. Of course, in the eyes of the skinny youth, this expression was ridicule and contempt. "Die brat." The shriveled youth roared, erupting with his full strength. He combined it with his source secret technique to unleash his most powerful move. He seemed to have turned into a scorching sun as he charged at Lu Ming with astonishing speed. However, Lu Ming was faster. The Wind Destroyer boots appeared and merged with his feet. Lu Ming's figure flashed slightly and he dodged the attack of the skinny young man. He appeared behind the skinny young man and his leg was like a steel whip, lashing out at the skinny young man. The wind-extinguishing boots not only increased speed, but also had a terrifying destructive power. The word, extinguish, could explain everything. Boom. There was a loud bang. Lu Ming kicked the skinny young man. The skinny young man screamed miserably. His body almost bent into the shape of a bow. Fresh blood spurted from his mouth and his body flew out like a cannonball. With a swoosh, he flew out of the fighting ring and hit the ground. He was half dead. Of course, this was already because Lu Ming had shown mercy. Otherwise, the skinny youth would have been dead. The scene was silent. This scene was beyond everyone's expectation. They had not expected that Lu Ming would defeat the skinny youth in one move. The people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were especially stunned. Although the skinny youth was the weakest among the 9 people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty, he was still a top genius. They had not expected that he would be defeated in one move. Qi Gaoi underestimated his opponent too much. A youth from the Tianyi sacred dynasty shook his head. That's right. The guy from the Taishu dynasty is obviously good at speed. He went behind Qi Gaoi with his speed and that guy did not even notice it. He is really useless. If it were me, there would be at least 3 ways to break that guy's move. Several young people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were discussing. Great. The people of the Taishu dynasty cheered loudly. Previously they had fewer people than the other side. Moreover, the top genius of the 9 general stars had not advanced. This made them feel extremely pressured. But now Lu Ming had won a battle. They felt a lot better. Humph, he just defeated the weakest one. What's there to be happy about? Someone from the Tianyi sacred dynasty said unhappily. Do you want to continue the challenge or take a break? At this time a white-haired old man asked Lu Ming. This white-haired old man was chosen by the 2 sides to be the referee. Take a break, Lu Ming said. He would not continue to compete. He would let the others compete first. This way he could also consume the strength of the geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Moreover, he could also see the combat strength of the geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty. His goal was to win in the end. However, if he could win in an easier way, why would he not do it? After Lu Ming finished speaking, he moved his body and retreated to the edge of the fighting ring. According to the rules, the loser will initiate the challenge. The Tianyi sacred dynasty has lost this round. Next, the geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty will continue to challenge. The white-haired referee announced. The loser would have the opportunity to initiate the challenge in the next round. This would be fair. Who will fight in the next round? Everyone is fine. Anyway, we have studied the combat strength of the 9 general stars of the Taishu dynasty, the secret arts of origin, and the techniques they are good at. We just have to choose the ones who are easy to deal with. Several geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were discussing. Let me do it. At this time, a young man from the Tianyi sacred dynasty spoke. As soon as this person spoke, everyone in the Tianyi sacred dynasty fell silent and looked at this person in a daze. Qiu Qingtian is going to fight? The people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were shocked. They found it unbelievable. They had never expected Qiu Qingtian to fight so soon. The main reason was that Qiu Qingtian was the top genius of the Tianyi sacred dynasty, the top genius of the younger generation. According to the plan, wasn't Qiu Qingtian supposed to stay until the end? Yes, the top genius of the 9 general stars of the Taishu dynasty did not advance. In this way, Qiu Qingtian has no opponent at all. He can defeat the people of the Taishu dynasty. In this way, won't we win directly? That's right. Qiu Qingtian probably thinks so. It seems that we won't have a chance to fight. Several geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty sighed. They wanted to perform well, but if Qiu Qingtian fought, they would have nothing to do. Chapter 3496. Swoosh. Qiu Qingtian stepped out, and the remaining prodigies of the Taishu dynasty turned pale. They naturally knew who Qiu Qingtian was. Qiu Qingtian's gaze swept across the crowd, and finally landed on a youth in black robes. Zhu Dao, let's fight. He's challenging Zhu Dao first. Many people were shocked. Among the 9 general stars of the Taishu dynasty, there were a total of 2 who had reached the Divine Lord realm. Zhu Dao was ranked second among the 9 general stars, and was naturally another prodigy who had reached the Divine Lord realm. It was obvious that Qiu Qingtian wanted to defeat Zhu Dao directly. Once Zhu Dao was defeated, the Taishu dynasty's defeat was set. Zhu Dao, you must win this battle. The Taishu Saint Emperor's voice rang out. Now they could only rely on Zhu Dao. As long as Zhu Dao defeated Qiu Qingtian, the Taishu dynasty would have a chance of winning. The Taishu Saint Emperor's words made Zhu Dao's face turn solemn. He nodded solemnly and said, "Saint Emperor, don't worry. Zhu Dao will fight to the death." He did not say that he would definitely win, but he said that he would fight to the death because he was not confident at all. It was not that he had not fought with Qiu Qingtian before, but it had always ended in failure. Zhu Dao stepped out and faced Qiu Qingtian. "Zhu Dao, I advise you to admit defeat. If you really want to fight, the result has already been decided." Qiu Qingtian said confidently. "Not necessarily. You and I are both first-level divine lords. You can defeat me once, but you might not be able to defeat me twice. Make your move. This time I will win." Zhu Dao's voice was powerful. As soon as he said that, Zhu Dao's body was covered by a thick pitch-black divine power. Following that, a huge spider appeared. It was a pitch-black spider that was as black as steel and emitted a metallic luster. This was Zhu Dao's origin source secret technique. In fact, Zhu Dao's original body was a spider, and his origin source secret technique was also a spider. Following that, the pitch-black spider charged into Zhu Dao's body, and a layer of pitch-black armor immediately appeared on Zhu Dao's body. The pitch-black armor wrapped around Zhu Dao's entire body tightly, leaving no openings at all. Moreover, 8 huge spider legs extended from his back like 8 javelins. "Kill?" Zhu Dao coldly snorted as he charged towards Qiu Qingtian. His 8 legs transformed into 8 spear lights as they pierced towards Qiu Qingtian. The moment Zhu Dao attacked, he used his full strength. He and Qiu Qingtian knew each other very well, and there was no need for him to probe. He directly used his full strength to fight. Against Zhu Dao, Qiu Qingtian didn't dare to be careless. Bolts of lightning radiated from his body. A battle sword flashing with lightning appeared in his hand. This wasn't a secret technique, but a divine weapon. The source secret technique was above his head. It was a bead, and within the bead, terrifying lightning exploded, making sizzling sounds. The lightning of the round bead was one with Qiu Qingtian. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the lightning sword in Qiu Qingtian's hand continued to slash out. In an instant he had slashed out over 100 times. Streaks of lightning sword light collided with Zhu Dao's black spear light, causing a loud explosion. The two of them fought fiercely. In the blink of an eye they had exchanged dozens of blows. To be honest, the two of them were truly powerful. Their strength was astonishing, and they possessed the power to destroy the heavens and earth. They were first-level god monarchs, but they weren't ordinary first-level god monarchs. They were top-notch geniuses. Without a doubt, their source divine power factor had already undergone 4 awakenings. At the same time, they had mastered all sorts of terrifying secret techniques. They had also cultivated physique secret techniques, source secret techniques, and so on. Their fighting strength was astonishing, and they would probably be able to wrestle with ordinary second-level god monarchs, although they might not be able to contend against them. In the god monarch realm, it was extremely difficult to cross one level to fight against an enemy. For example, Zhu Dao and Qiu Qingtian. They were both exceptional geniuses. However, those who could enter the god monarch realm were all geniuses. Their source divine power factor had undergone at least 3 awakenings. As for Zhu Dao and Qiu Qingtian, they had only undergone 4 awakenings. With one more awakening, even if they added on some other techniques, it would still be difficult for them to fight across levels in the god monarch realm. At most, they would be able to wrestle and contend, but it would be almost impossible for them to defeat their opponent. Such strength? In a battle of the same level, they are much weaker than Di Jianyi. Lu Ming muttered. In his heart he already had an idea. Zhu Dao and Qiu Qingtian fought intensely. To be honest, the difference in strength between the two of them wasn't that big. After exchanging more than 200 moves, Qiu Qingtian slowly gained the upper hand. His entire body was covered with lightning. Every move that he made was filled with lightning, which then transformed into lightning swords that attacked Zhu Dao. In the end, the lightning bead was held in Qiu Qingtian's hand. It transformed into a lightning enchantment that enveloped Zhu Dao. Countless bolts of lightning continuously struck Zhu Dao. Zhu Dao roared and waved his 8 spider legs, attacking Qiu Qingtian continuously. However, he was repelled by the lightning every time. Gotcha. The pitch-black armor on Zhu Dao's body cracked open and fresh blood continuously seeped out. Peng as time passed, the armor on Zhu Dao's body continued to explode. In the end, Zhu Dao let out a blood-curdling scream and retreated frantically. Kill? Qiu Qingtian roared and grabbed the opportunity to transform into a lightning sword, slashing towards Zhu Dao. Zhu Dao did his best to block, but he was still struck. His body flew out horizontally, landing heavily below the battle platform. His body was in tatters, almost completely exploding. He was severely injured and almost died. Zhu Dao defeated. At this moment, the Taishu Sacred Emperor's face was ashen and extremely gloomy. Zhu Dao had been defeated. In this way, the Taishu dynasty no longer had a divine lord supreme talent. The remaining ones were all divine kings. On the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty's side, other than Qiu Qingtian, there was another supreme talent who was also a divine lord. The difference was too big. It was obvious at a glance. The result was already out. The Taishu Sacred Emperor was furious. Was the soul-cultivating flower going to be gone just like that? He couldn't accept it. Without the soul-cultivating flower, he didn't have much time left and it would be difficult for him to defy the heavens. At the side, the crown prince and the imperial advisor revealed a smile. This result was exactly what they wanted. "Aha, Brother Jing, it seems like you've lost. You won't be able to take the soul-cultivating flower." The Tianyi Sacred Emperor laughed. "Gotcha." The jade cup in the Taishu Sacred Emperor's hand was crushed by him. At the scene, many people from the Taishu dynasty shook their heads and sighed. The number one of the 9 general stars did not advance. This had a great impact on the Taishu dynasty's side. Originally, that supreme talent could have fought with Qiu Qingtian and Zhu Dao could have dealt with the other divine lord supreme talent of the Tianyi Sacred Dynasty. In this way, the outcome of the battle was unknown. However, the number one of the 9 general stars did not advance. This directly changed the situation of the battle. It directly caused the Taishu dynasty's side to suffer a one-sided defeat. At this moment, everyone had forgotten about Lu Ming's previous victory. Chapter 3497. Lu Ming's victory did not affect the overall situation at all. Qiu Qingtian has won this battle. Qiu Qingtian, will you continue to challenge or take a break? The white-haired judge asked. I'll continue. Come out. Qiu Qingtian casually pointed at a young man. According to the rules, the loser should be the one to challenge the winner, but that was only if the winner did not continue to challenge the winner. If the winner continued to challenge the loser, he would still have the right to challenge the loser. The young man's face turned pale. Although he was one of the top few among the 9 general stars, he had yet to enter the Divine Lord realm. His combat power was much weaker than Zhu Dao's, and he was not on the same level as Qiu Qingtian. If you don't dare to fight, then admit defeat. Qiu Qingtian said coldly. Fight. Finally, the young man shouted and stepped forward, revealing a strong fighting spirit. Now, in front of everyone and the Taishu Sage Emperor, if he admitted defeat, his future would be over. Therefore, he could not admit defeat. Moreover, he guessed that Qiu Qingtian must have been exhausted in the battle with Zhu Dao. He might still have a chance. You have some guts, but unfortunately your fate is sealed. Thunderous Annihilation Sword. Qiu Qingtian shouted, and the bead emitted more lightning. Qiu Qingtian transformed into a giant lightning sword and slashed at the prodigy from the Taishu dynasty. Sky Tiger splits the sky. The prodigy from the Taishu dynasty used all his strength to transform into a Sky Tiger. His tiger claws split the sky as he attacked Qiu Qingtian. Boom. The two sides collided heavily and energy waves spread in all directions. Lightning filled the sky. However, in the next moment, a scream was heard. Then, a figure flew out of the fighting stage like a shooting star and crashed to the ground. This figure was not Qiu Qingtian, but the prodigy from the Taishu dynasty. His body was charred black, and after crashing to the ground, he twitched a few times and stopped breathing. He was dead. A peerless genius had been killed in an instant. Damn it. The people from the Taishu Sacred Dynasty were enraged, especially the family members of that prodigy. They were furious. You overestimated yourself. This is your fate if you don't admit defeat. Qiu Qingtian sneered. You're too ruthless. Someone from the Taishu Dynasty roared. Life and death are not guaranteed in this competition. If you are killed, you can only be considered weak. If you are afraid of death, you can just admit defeat. Tianyi Saint Emperor smiled faintly. He was in a very good mood. He was definitely going to win this competition. Moreover, he would be able to suppress the Taishu dynasty and obtain a treasure that was not inferior to the soul-nurturing flower from the Taishu Saint Emperor. Qiu Qingtian, do you want to continue the challenge or take a break? The white-haired referee asked again. Continue fighting. Qiu Qingtian said, then glanced at Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming's group originally had 7 people. Now that one was dead and one was injured, there were only 5 left. Other than Lu Ming, the other 4 turned pale when Qiu Qingtian's gaze swept past them. Qiu Qingtian's gaze swept past Lu Ming, directly ignoring him. In his opinion, he did not know Lu Ming at all. Although he won the previous round, it was also because of luck, the element of surprise and Qigao's carelessness. He did not take Lu Ming seriously. In the end, his gaze fell on one of the 9 general stars and said, "Come out and fight me." The general who had been challenged paled. The scene of that prodigy being killed was still flashing in front of his eyes. "Do you accept the challenge or admit defeat?" Qiu Qingtian said with a playful smile. "I admit defeat." In the end, that prodigy from the Taishu dynasty shook his head and chose to admit defeat. Even if the Saint Emperor saw it clearly, even if the others saw it clearly, he did not care and chose to admit defeat. It was better to be looked down upon than to be killed directly. He knew very well that with his strength, there was a 90% chance that he would be killed if he fought with Qiu Qingtian. How could he continue fighting? Of course he would admit defeat directly. Ah! Tianyi Saint Emperor laughed loudly, while the Taishu Saint Emperor's face turned even uglier. Today not only did he not get the soul-nourishing flower, but he also lost all his face. In this way there were only 4 people left from the Taishu dynasty. "Next you. Come out and fight me." Qiu Qingtian continued to challenge and pointed at a young man. That young man shook his head and chose to admit defeat. There was no need to continue fighting. He was definitely no match for Qiu Qingtian. He would only be courting death if he went up. In this way there were only 3 people left. Qiu Qingtian continued to challenge, and the next person also admitted defeat. In this way there were only Lu Ming and a young man in a white robe left. "Qiu Qingtian, are you still going to challenge?" the white-haired judge asked. "No, it's boring. All of you are cowards. I'll leave 2 of you for the others to play with." Qiu Qingtian shook his head and did not continue to challenge. Instead he retreated. In his opinion there was no point. If he continued to challenge, all of them would definitely surrender again. It was too boring. He might as well leave 2 of them for the others to play with. "Alright, next, it's the Taishu dynasty's turn to challenge," the white-haired judge announced. Lu Ming had been challenged before, so it was naturally another young man in a white robe's turn. The young man in a white robe stepped out and came to the middle of the fighting ring. He was really relieved. If Qiu Qingtian continued to challenge him, he could only admit defeat. He did not expect that Qiu Qingtian would not continue to challenge him. In this way he had a chance to show off. No matter what, he had to perform well in the next battle. "Feng Qi, come down and fight." The young man in a white robe looked at a young man from the Tianyi sacred dynasty. "You dare to challenge me? Very well, we have fought once before and there was no clear winner. This time I will definitely defeat you." The young man from the Tianyi sacred dynasty called Feng Qi said coldly. He stepped out and landed in the middle of the fighting ring. Boom, boom. Without any superfluous words, the 2 of them started to fight fiercely. The battle was intense. Their strength was similar. They were both in the peak Divine King realm with origin divine power factor and 4 awakenings. Needless to say, they were both peerless geniuses and their combat strength was similar. In this battle, the 2 of them exchanged more than 500 blows. It was extremely tragic. In the end, both of them were injured. They were covered in blood and their clothes were tattered. In the end, both of them fell down at the same time. The 2 of them fought until they were exhausted. In this battle, both of them were injured and they were evenly matched. In this way, Lu Ming was the only one left in the Taishu dynasty. Sigh, he is bound to lose. Let's end this quickly. Many people from the Taishu dynasty sighed. Previously, it was the Taishu dynasty's turn to challenge. In the previous battle, both of them were injured. Naturally, it was the Tianyi sacred dynasty's turn to challenge. "Leave this brat to me. I want to see if he's faster than me." A genius from the Tianyi sacred dynasty spoke and then flashed out. Rather than continuing to fail, it would be better to end this quickly and end this torture. According to the rules, it's the Tianyi sacred dynasty's turn to challenge, the white-robed judge said. Chapter 3498. Lu Ming stepped out and came to the middle of the fighting ring. "Boy, your speed is not bad. But compared to me you are still a little slower. You will be defeated." The genius from the Tianyi sacred dynasty sneered. He was from the Wingmen clan and had a pair of green wings on his back. As soon as he finished speaking, he flapped his wings and turned into a bolt of lightning, rushing toward Lu Ming. In the process of rushing out, his body swayed and turned into multiple phantoms, surrounding Lu Ming. There were a total of 32 phantoms and it was hard to tell which one was the real one. "Haha boy, have you seen my speed? Now you know the gap between us. With your speed you can't even touch a hair on my head." "Ah." The youth from the Wingmen clan laughed arrogantly. "Who said that I want to compete with you in speed?" Lu Ming said lightly. He clenched his fist and the overbearing god spear appeared in his hand. "Is this the secret skill of origin? How is that possible?" Many people's eyes widened, especially those from the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Origin source secret techniques naturally wouldn't shock these people. However, it was shocking for a person to possess two origin source secret techniques. Lu Ming had clearly displayed the Wind Destroyer boots in the previous battle. Now he had displayed the Overbearing God Spear. It was obvious that he had two secret skills of origin. Could it be that Lu Ming had cultivated the ancient cultivation method? Just as many people had this thought, Lu Ming made his move. Lu Ming swept out directly. The huge spear radiance filled the fighting ring and enveloped the entire fighting ring. "Yua!" The youth from the Wingmen clan suddenly shouted in shock. Isn't Lu Ming good at speed? Why isn't he playing according to common sense? He wanted to resist, but it was too late. The huge spear radiance swept across and the phantoms exploded. No matter how many phantoms there were, no matter how fast they were, Lu Ming had already enveloped the entire fighting ring under his attack. Bang bang bunga series of explosions resounded as the 36 phantoms exploded in an instant. The young man from the Winged Men race screamed as he was blown away by the spear. He was like a cannonball as he was blown out of the fighting stage and smashed into the ground. He was half dead. The youth of the Winged Men clan was defeated in one move. He won again? This time, even the people of the Taishu dynasty were stunned. In this competition, the Taishu dynasty had only won 2 matches, and both of them had been won by Lu Ming. This was simply unbelievable. The people of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were also stunned. This kid is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. His true strength is very strong. Finally, one of the geniuses from the Tianyi sacred dynasty spoke up. His expression was grave. To be able to easily defeat 2 prodigies in a row, even a fool would know that Lu Ming's strength was not weak, but very strong. Below the fighting ring, the crown prince and the state preceptor looked gloomy. Seeing that Lu Ming was in the limelight, they were very unhappy. It doesn't matter. If this kid continues to challenge, he will be courting death when he meets the divine emperors of the other side. Maybe he will be killed by them. The state preceptor secretly transmitted his voice to the crown prince. That's right. It may be a good thing that this kid can win a few matches. The crown prince also nodded secretly. They were still hoping that Lu Ming would meet the divine emperors of the Tianyi sacred dynasty. In that case, they might not need to do anything and Lu Ming would be killed. Lu Ming, who are you going to challenge next? The white-robed judge asked. Now only Lu Ming was left. Lu Ming had won, so he could only continue to challenge him. Lu Ming pointed at a young man from the other side, who was not in the divine emperor realm. If he wanted to win, he had to defeat everyone on the other side. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to challenge them one by one. It was the same to leave the divine emperors behind. The young man who was challenged by Lu Ming stepped out of the crowd and came in front of Lu Ming. However, the young man did not dare to be careless now. He stared at Lu Ming with a solemn face. Kill. Suddenly the young man attacked. He attacked with all his strength. The origin source secret technique, with the support of strong divine power, was extremely powerful. It attacked Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming simply waved his spear. At that moment, Lu Ming had already activated the battle character art to quadruple his combat strength. In addition to his 11 types of divine power, it was extremely powerful. He could easily crush those of the same level. Not everyone was like Di Jianyi. Although these prodigies were strong, they were 100 streets away from Lu Ming in a battle of the same level. Boom. The overbearing god spear rolled over, and the genius of the Tianyi sacred dynasty screamed. His attack and defense were all destroyed. He felt as if he had been hit by a mountain, and he was almost flattened. His whole body flew out of the fighting ring and he vomited blood. He was half dead. Instant kill. Another instant kill. The scene fell into silence. Everyone stared at Lu Ming. Their eyes were shining. Another instant kill. Occasionally they could say it was luck. But now it had happened 3 times. This was not luck. It was strength. Overwhelming strength. One should know that Lu Ming's opponents were not weak. The top prodigies of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were like the 9 generals in the Taishu dynasty. Such people were killed in an instant. How strong was Lu Ming? Tianyi sacred emperor and the remaining prodigies of the Tianyi sacred dynasty looked solemn. Great! Taishu's sacred emperor could not help but shout. His eyes, which were full of despair, were filled with hope again. With Lu Ming's combat strength, he might be able to create a miracle. The crown prince and the state preceptor looked gloomy. The 2 of them looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Could it be that Di Jianyi was really defeated by Lu Ming? Di Jianyi, come here. The crown prince sent a voice transmission to Di Jianyi. In a flash, Di Jianyi appeared behind the crown prince. Jenny, what's going on? Why is Lu Ming not dead? Could it be that you did not touch him? The Crown Prince sent a voice transmission to Jenny. Crown Prince, State Preceptor, we have underestimated Lu Ming. Jenny replied. What do you mean? The Crown Prince and the State Preceptor were shocked. I have lost. Jenny only said these 3 words and did not say anything else. What? The State Preceptor and the Crown Prince were shocked. They were all too clear about how talented and sick Jenny was. Jianghu was known as the most outstanding prodigy in the history of the Taishu dynasty. However, compared to Jenny, there was still a gap. Yes, in their hearts, Jianghu could not be compared to Jenny. However, right now, Emperor Jenny had been defeated by Lu Ming. What did this mean? Lu Ming's talent was number 1 in the history of the Taishu dynasty. Damn it, D****. The Crown Prince roared in his heart. Jenny's strength was extremely terrifying. Even the person who was ranked number 1 among the 9 general stars might not be a match for Jenny. Did that mean that Lu Ming could defeat Qiu Qingtian? Defeat everyone in the Tianyi sacred dynasty and help Taishu's sacred emperor get the soul-nourishing flower? Chapter 3499. No. The Crown Prince roared in his heart. His eyes were red. He could not accept this. If the Taishu sacred emperor obtained the soul-nourishing flower and increased his lifespan by half a stellar year, he would have to wait for another half a stellar year. He had waited for countless years. He could not wait any longer. If the Taishu sacred emperor made a breakthrough in the future, he would never be able to sit on the throne of the sacred emperor. In his heart he wanted to kill Lu Ming. He could not wait to cut Lu Ming into pieces. What's wrong? The Taishu sacred emperor felt that something was wrong with the Crown Prince and glanced at him coldly. No, nothing. Father, I'm just excited to see how powerful Lu Ming is. The Crown Prince's face changed and he quickly answered. Is that so? The Great Void Saint Emperor said plainly. You do have some skills. Unfortunately, your cultivation is only in the 9th Divine King realm. You're still lacking in terms of cultivation. It's hard for you to fight against a Divine Lord realm genius. The Tianyi sacred emperor's eyes flickered a few times before he sneered. To be honest, he was shocked by Lu Ming's strength. A wisp of killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Such a powerful genius would be terrifying when he grew up. He might even be an invincible figure at the peak of the Divine Lord realm. The stronger the Taishu dynasty was, the worse it would be for the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Is that so? Then let's continue to watch. The Taishu dynasty's leader said. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Lu Ming, who are you going to challenge next? The white-haired judge asked. Lu Ming swept his gaze over them. Originally, the Tianyi sacred dynasty had a total of 9 geniuses. Previously, because both sides were injured, one of them was eliminated. Now, 3 of them were defeated by Lu Ming. There were only 5 left. Among them, there were 2 Divine Lord realm geniuses. Lu Ming intended to deal with these 2 later. He would deal with the 3 divine kings first. Anyway, he had to deal with them. You. Lu Ming pointed at the genius. The genius's face turned pale. Previously, there was a genius whose strength was not inferior to his, but he was defeated by Lu Ming in one move. If he went up, he would probably be killed in an instant. Let's go all out and exhaust every bit of his divine power. A voice suddenly rang out in the young man's ears. It was Saint Lord Tianyi's voice. The young man's expression changed. He originally wanted to surrender, but now he couldn't. Clearly, Tianyi Saint Emperor did not allow for failure. He wanted to use them to exhaust Lu Ming's divine power to ensure that Qiu Qingtian and the others would definitely win. Fight. The young man gritted his teeth and stepped forward, landing in front of Lu Ming. Then he unleashed all of his power and used all of his techniques. In the eyes of the other young people present, this young man was very strong. He was so strong that it was terrifying. But in Lu Ming's eyes it was very weak. Boom. The Tyrant God spear blasted out, breaking all techniques with one strike. No matter what kind of technique or secret technique it would be crushed by the spear. Then with a scream the young man was sent flying. It was still an instant kill. Then he continued to challenge and it was still an instant kill. Soon Lu Ming won 3 rounds in a row. In this way, a total of 6 geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty were defeated by Lu Ming. There were only 2 geniuses of the Tianyi sacred dynasty left on the scene. These 2 people were both in the Divine Lord realm. One of them was Qiu Qingtian, and the other was the second-ranked genius of the Tianyi sacred dynasty's younger generation called Yunji. It's finally the last 2 people. The last 2 people are both in the Divine Lord realm. Is Lu Ming a match for them? It's hard to say. A Divine Lord is much stronger than a Divine King. Moreover, those two people are both peerless geniuses. That's right. They are both peerless geniuses. A Divine Lord Realm genius can easily kill a Divine King Realm genius. Lu Ming may not be a match for them. At the scene, many people were discussing. Indeed, they were all peerless geniuses. Whether it was Qiu Qingtian or Yun Ji, they could easily kill those people that Lu Ming had just defeated. Therefore, without fighting, it was difficult to guess who was stronger and who was weaker. The Taishu Sacred Emperor also became nervous. Of course, the Crown Prince was also extremely nervous. One was afraid of losing and the other was afraid of winning. Lu Ming, who are you going to challenge next? The white-haired judge asked. No need to trouble yourself. Let the two of them come at me together. Lu Ming said. What? As soon as these words came out, the scene fell into silence. Lu Ming actually wanted to challenge Qiu Qingtian and Yun Ji at the same time. Was he crazy? Or was he too arrogant? Lu Ming, what are you doing? The Taishu Sacred Emperor suddenly stood up and roared. This battle was related to the soul-nurturing flower and his lifespan. It was not a child's play, and absolutely no mistakes were allowed. Brother Jing, why are you so agitated? How they challenge is the young people's business. We just have to watch. The young people are confident, so we can't suppress them. The Chinese Sacred Emperor's voice sounded, and then he said, You are free to challenge them. If you want to challenge both of them at the same time, you can. If Lu Ming wanted to challenge both of them at the same time, he would be more than happy. Lu Ming, you have to think carefully. The Taishu Sacred Emperor said coldly. Sacred Emperor, don't worry. There is no difference between two of them and one of them. I am confident. Lu Ming said with a smile. He was very clear about Qiu Qingtian's combat strength and he was really confident. When Lu Ming had just come out of the primordial divine spirit world, he was already able to fight a barbarian tribe second-layer divine lord to a draw. At that time, Lu Ming's cultivation was only in the 8th-layer divine king realm. As for Qiu Qingtian, even if he used his full strength, he could at most fight a second-layer divine lord and he would most likely lose. Therefore, even if Lu Ming was in the 8th-layer divine king realm, he would not be afraid of Qiu Qingtian, let alone now that he had broken through to the 9th-layer divine king realm. Even if Yun Ji was added, it would be the same. Lu Ming was very confident, but in the eyes of others, it was arrogance. He is too arrogant. Who does he think he is? He is just a divine king. It is already incredible for a divine king to fight a divine lord and he wants to fight two of them? Moreover, they are two top geniuses. This is absolutely impossible. It is completely impossible. Looks like his previous consecutive victories and instant kills of his opponents have inflated his self-confidence to no end. It will be fun to embarrass himself later. The people of the Chinese sacred dynasty sneered. However, the people of the Taishu dynasty did not say anything. Many people of the Taishu dynasty knew Lu Ming well. Lu Ming was a new batch of students of the Taishu Imperial Family Holy Academy. How many years had it been? Lu Ming's cultivation had already reached the peak divine king realm. This in itself was incredible. Therefore, even if Lu Ming could defeat Qiu Qingtian and Yun Ji, they would not think that it was impossible. Alright, since you are confident, it is up to you. I only have one condition and that is to win. You must win. The Taishu Sacred Emperor said coldly. Yes. Lu Ming nodded and looked at Qiu Qingtian and Yun Ji. Chapter 3500. Qiu Qingtian and Yun Ji looked gloomy. Lu Ming dared to challenge the two of them alone. In their eyes he was looking down on them. Since he wants to challenge us alone, let's fulfill his wish. Let him stay here forever. Yun Ji's eyes were cold and his voice was icy. That's exactly what I wanted. A divine king is too arrogant. Qiu Qingtian said coldly. Boom, boom. Their auras burst out at the same time. The auras of first-level divine lords formed a terrifying pressure that pressed down on Lu Ming. Then the two of them attacked at the same time. Qiu Qingtian's body was covered with lightning and formed a lightning sword that slashed at Lu Ming. Yun Ji pointed his finger and a golden finger that was covered with runes suddenly appeared. It was glowing brightly and it was pointed at Lu Ming. It was a terrifying secret technique. Their attacks instantly closed in on Lu Ming. The two of them were first-level divine lords. Even if they did not use their full strength, they could easily kill an ordinary first-level divine lord. As for those below the divine lord level, it was needless to say. Boom. At that moment, Lu Ming's body shook slightly again and his aura became stronger. Battle character art 5 times combat strength activated. Then the Overlord God spear shook and 2 spear radiances shot out, colliding with Qiu Qingtian and Yun Ji's attacks. 2 loud bangs erupted and the entire fighting ring was shaking. Of course, the battle stage was covered with runes, so the chi from their battle would be blocked and unable to disperse. After the two bangs, the attacks from both sides dissipated at the same time. He blocked it. Many people's hearts were beating wildly. Lu Ming had really blocked Qiu Qingtian and Yunji's attacks. This was unbelievable. The people from the Taishu dynasty were overjoyed. However, the people from the Qianni sacred dynasty looked gloomy. Didn't you see that Qiu Qingtian and Yunji did not use their full strength? They did not use their origin source secret techniques, and Lu Ming has already used his origin source secret technique. He has already used his full strength. It's obvious who is stronger. That's right. As long as Qiu Qingtian and Yunji use their full strength, Lu Ming will definitely lose. The people of the Qianni sacred dynasty spoke one after another. Under normal circumstances, using an origin source secret technique was equivalent to using one's full strength. Even Qiu Qingtian and Yunji thought so. You're Lu Ming, right? Is this all you've got? You dare to challenge the two of us? I alone can suppress you. That's right, I've only used 80% of my strength and I haven't even used my primary secret technique yet. It's time to send you on your way. Qiu Qingtian and Yunji coldly laughed. Their auras grew even stronger. After that, they both used their source secret arts, pushing their combat prowess to the peak. Yunji's origin secret technique was a strange bronze finger that emitted an ancient and desolate aura. This bronze finger fused with Yunji's finger, causing his finger to emit a resplendent radiance. Kill? Yunji shouted and pointed his finger at Lu Ming. A huge finger that looked like the finger of a primordial deity pointed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved the Overlord God's spear and blasted it forward. The huge spear radiance collided with the finger. There was a loud boom and energy overflowed. Lu Ming's body shook violently, and he retreated rapidly. He only stopped when he reached the edge of the fighting ring. Lu Ming is about to lose. Many people had the same thought in their minds. Haha, with your strength, you're overestimating yourself. Yunji laughed. Is this your full strength? At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly asked. What do you mean? My strength is enough to kill you 10 times over. Yunji sneered. Is that so? If that's all you have, then this battle is over. Lu Ming said indifferently. Then he placed the Overlord God's spear in front of him. In the next moment, a terrifying aura burst out from the Overlord God's spear. A dazzling spear radiance shot up into the sky and pierced through the clouds. The scene was silent at first, and then there was an uproar. This is... Sever the shackles. His origin secret technique has severed the shackles. Oh my God. At this moment, not only the ordinary people but many old monsters were also shocked. Their eyes were wide open and they could not calm down. Even the Taishu Sacred Emperor and the Qianni Sacred Emperor stood up in shock. A 9th-level Divine King Realm cultivator who could awaken the origin secret technique at such a young age was already a peerless genius. As for severing the shackles, that was even more unimaginable. Now, no matter if it was the Taishu dynasty or the Qianni Sacred dynasty, none of the strongest geniuses had severed the shackles. So far, Lu Ming was the first. The Crown Prince and the Imperial Advisor looked gloomy, but they were not too surprised. After all, Lu Ming had defeated Di Jianni. They knew that Lu Ming must have severed the shackles of the origin secret technique. Yunji and Qiu Qingtian's eyes were wide open, and they were filled with disbelief. They also wanted to sever the shackles, but they had failed countless times. But Lu Ming, who was only a 9th-level Divine King Realm cultivator, had succeeded. This made them envious and jealous. Come on. Lu Ming pointed his spear at Qiu Qingtian and Yunji. So what if you have severed the shackles? You are only a 9th-level Divine King Realm cultivator. How can you fight against us? Kill. Qiu Qingtian and Yunji shouted. They moved and charged at Lu Ming like meteorites. Qiu Qingtian's bead emitted endless lightning, and it even turned into a lightning enchantment that enveloped Lu Ming. It turned into a lightning sword and charged at Lu Ming. Yunji shouted. His finger glowed and pointed at Lu Ming. An even more terrifying finger pointed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his Overlord God's spear. Instantly, 2 spear radiances shot out, as if they could shatter the void. Both sides' attacks collided, and the battle stage shook violently. This time Lu Ming did not retreat. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his spear radiance was like a dragon. Not only did he block Qiu Qingtian and Yunji's attacks, he even destroyed their attacks. The two of them retreated a few steps and their faces were ugly. Damn it. The two of them roared. They could not accept that they were still not Lu Ming's match even after joining forces. It was obvious that Qiu Qingtian and Yunji had cultivated secret physique techniques. Qiu Qingtian's secret physique technique should be related to lightning. However, their secret physique technique was not very mature. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that it was not even comparable to the fifth transformation of the primordial divine body. Yunji's secret physique technique was similar to Qiu Qingtian's. Qiu Qingtian's body was covered with endless lightning, as if his entire body had turned into lightning. His muscles, bones, and blood were all made of lightning. Secret physique technique? Lu Ming muttered. Chapter 3501. Of course, after using the secret body constitution technique, their strength had also increased. Once again they charged towards Lu Ming. This time the two of them were fighting against Lu Ming. For a moment, it was hard to determine the winner. On the huge fighting stage, the three of them were constantly clashing and killing each other. It was extremely intense. In the blink of an eye, the three of them had already exchanged over 100 blows. The scene was silent. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at the fighting stage. The main reason was that they were too shocked. They were shocked by Lu Ming's strength. A 9th-layer divine king could actually fight against two 1st-layer divine monarch peerless geniuses. This was too inconceivable. It was like a fantasy story. Tiany's sacred emperor's face was extremely gloomy. On the other hand, Taishu's sacred emperor's eyes were filled with anticipation. Previously he had already given up hope. He thought that the two countries would most likely lose this battle. He had never expected Lu Ming to suddenly appear and display such shocking strength. It was greatly out of his expectations. It seemed like there was hope for him to win. As long as he won, he would be able to obtain the soul-nourishing flower. Thinking of this, he was extremely excited. Ah, damn it. Kill, kill, kill. Qiu Qingtian and Yunji roared crazily as they fought. Their attacks were like a storm. They could not lose. If the two of them were not a match for a 9th-layer divine king, they would become a laughing stock. They could not accept this fact. The two of them pushed their combat strength to the maximum. However, no matter how they attacked, Lu Ming was still able to block them. Alright, it's about time to end this, Lu Ming muttered. Then he started to control the primordial divine blood in his heart. Of course, this time, Lu Ming did not unleash the full power of the primordial divine blood. He only unleashed a portion of it. Even so, Lu Ming's body was suddenly filled with explosive power, causing his strength to increase tremendously. Buzz! The overbearing god's spear shook and turned into a huge spear radiance, sweeping across the battlefield. Boom! Qiu Qingtian's lightning swords exploded and shattered. Then, as the overbearing god's spear swept across, Qiu Qingtian's lightning barrier also exploded. Qiu Qingtian's face changed drastically. He groaned and retreated. Dang! In the next moment, the tyrant god's spear struck Yunji's finger. His finger immediately shattered. Yunji's expression changed drastically. At that moment he felt that his finger was about to break. His body retreated rapidly. His finger trembled incessantly and blood seeped out. Your power? Qiu Qingtian and Yunji widened their eyes and stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. The people around them were similar to them. They were also dumbfounded. A very old monster spoke. "Ji, now I'll finish you off," Lu Ming said coldly. He took a step forward. Like a human-shaped dragon, he rushed forward. The overbearing god's spear smashed down. It turned into layers of spear shadows, covering Qiu Qingtian and Yunji. Qiu Qingtian and Yunji shouted and tried their best to resist. However, Lu Ming's power was above theirs. When the two sides collided, their bodies retreated. Their faces were pale and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Lu Ming did not stop attacking. He continued to charge toward them. His attacks were endless. After a dozen moves, Qiu Qingtian and Yunji screamed. They were hit by Lu Ming. They vomited blood and flew out of the fighting ring. They fell heavily on the ground. They were seriously injured. Of course, Lu Ming was being merciful. If Lu Ming used all the power of the primordial divine blood, it would not be difficult to kill them. Qiu Qingtian and Yunji were defeated. The scene was deathly silent, especially the people of the Tiany sacred dynasty. Their minds were blank. They thought they were dreaming. Qiu Qingtian and Yunji were the two strongest heavenly geniuses of the Tiany sacred dynasty. They were invincible. In the Tiany sacred dynasty, they were like two mountains that pressed down on the heads of countless young people. They were the goal of all the young people. They were also the idols of all the young people. However, two of such strong heavenly geniuses had been defeated by a 9th divine king layer cultivator. It was a huge blow to them. Good. After a while, many people reacted. The people of the Taishu dynasty cheered loudly. They were incomparably excited. They had won the battle. Of course they were excited. Haha, Tianyi, you let me win. The Taishu sacred emperor laughed. He was incomparably excited. Damn it, damn it, damn it. On the side of the Taishu dynasty, the crown prince was the angriest. He was shouting madly in his heart. His eyes were incomparably ferocious. He couldn't wait to chop Lu Ming into pieces. Originally he had planned everything perfectly. This time the Taishu dynasty couldn't win. But now, because of Lu Ming, the Taishu dynasty had won. All his plans and efforts had gone up in smoke. The Taishu sacred emperor would obtain the soul-nourishing flower and his lifespan would increase by half a stellar year. If he broke through in the future, he would probably be a crown prince until he died of old age. He was indignant. He was extremely indignant. At this moment, his hatred for Lu Ming was overwhelming. The imperial preceptor's face was also incomparably ugly. Of course, the Tianyi sacred emperor's face was also ugly. Good. I didn't expect that such a monster would appear in the Taishu dynasty. I really didn't expect that the Taishu dynasty would have such a great opportunity. In the past there was Jianghu and now there is Lu Ming. The Tianyi sacred emperor sneered, looking at Lu Ming with deep fear in his eyes. Lu Ming's talent was too terrifying. In the future it was very likely that he would take a crucial step, break through the barrier of the Divine Lord realm, and step into a higher level. Once that happened, it would be very fatal for the Tianyi sacred dynasty. It would break the balance. In the past, Jianghu was said to have such a hope. Unfortunately he died. And now Lu Ming obviously had such a hope. Tianyi, you lost. Hand over the soul-nourishing flower. The Taishu sacred emperor shouted, staring at Tianyi with great anticipation. Fine, I'll give it to you. Brother Jing, although the soul-nourishing flower can increase your lifespan by half a stellar year, it's impossible for you to break through to the next realm. At most, you can live for another half a stellar year. Tianyi sneered. You don't have to worry about this. The Taishu sacred emperor said coldly, his face ugly. His lifespan was his greatest taboo. If the one who said this wasn't the Tianyi sacred emperor, he would have slapped him to death. Chapter 3502. Tianyi Saint Emperor sneered. With a wave of his hand, a jade box appeared in his hand. When he opened the jade box, one could see a pitch-black flower inside. The flower was pitch black, but it emitted a sparkling luster and a rich fragrance. Many people felt their souls tremble when they smelled this fragrance. It was as though their soul power had become much purer. Is this the soul-nurturing flower? It's indeed a peerless treasure. Many people's eyes lit up. If an ordinary person obtained this soul-nurturing flower and refined it, their soul power would also increase greatly. It was a peerless treasure with immeasurable value. Of course they were just thinking about it. The soul-nurturing flower was now the treasure of the great Void Saint Emperor. Who would dare to have such thoughts? Quickly cover it. The great Void Saint Emperor hurriedly shouted. If the soul-nurturing flower was exposed outside, its medicinal properties would slowly evaporate. Every time it evaporated, the medicinal effects would decrease by a little. If it evaporated a little, it might reduce his lifespan by a few years. Naturally, he was very concerned about it. Tianyi Saint Emperor smiled and closed the lid. Lu Shi, go and get the soul-nurturing flower. The great Void Saint Emperor waved his hand and asked a close official beside him to get the soul-nurturing flower. As the great Void Saint Emperor, he naturally couldn't go and get it himself. Yes, Your Majesty. The close official, Lu Shi, was a white-haired old man. He bowed and then flew towards Tianyi Saint Emperor. Tianyi Saint Emperor revealed a pained expression. Then he waved his hand and the jade box flew towards Lu Shi. Lu Shi took it and flew towards the great Void Saint Emperor. However, halfway there he suddenly stopped. Lu Shi, what are you doing? Why aren't you bringing it over? The great Void Saint Emperor urged. He was already a little impatient. However, Lu Shi didn't move. Instead, he revealed a strange smile and opened the jade box. Lu Shi, what are you doing? The great Void Saint Emperor roared. Nothing. I just want to destroy the soul-nurturing flower. Lu Shi smiled. Then his divine power burst out and bombarded the jade box. As the close official of the great Void Saint Emperor, Lu Shi's strength was also shockingly strong. He had reached the 8th level of the Divine Lord realm. His divine power was so strong that the jade box and soul-nurturing flower in his hand exploded, turning into powder and dissipating in the air. The scene became silent all of a sudden. Everyone was stunned and looked at Lu Shi in a daze. This included the Taishu Saint Emperor, the Tianyi Saint Emperor, and Lu Ming. This scene was completely out of their expectations. Lu Shi had actually destroyed the soul-nourishing flower? This, the crown prince and the state preceptor were also dumbfounded. This was completely beyond their expectations. Although they wanted to destroy the soul-nourishing flower, they didn't dare to. This was the lifespan of the Taishu Saint Emperor. If it was destroyed, the Taishu Saint Emperor would definitely go crazy. No one could withstand the madness of the Taishu Saint Emperor. Yes, the Taishu Saint Emperor had truly gone mad. At this moment, the Taishu Saint Emperor's body started to tremble violently. His eyes turned red as a terrifying icy aura emanated from his body. All of a sudden the atmosphere became incomparably oppressive. Lu Shi. A beast-like roar came out of the Taishu Saint Emperor's mouth. It was filled with terrifying killing intent. Whoosh. At this moment Lu Shi did not stop in the slightest. His body shot up into the sky. His speed was frighteningly fast. Those who were not Sir Gods could not see Lu Shi's speed clearly at all. However, the Taishu Saint Emperor was even faster. Originally, the Taishu Saint Emperor looked like an old man in his twilight years. At this moment he was like an ancient god that had come back to life. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. His body shot out and chased after Lu Shi at a frightening speed. The distance between the two of them was rapidly closing. Lu Shi, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. The Taishu Saint Emperor roared. Violent energy surged out like a torrential storm. Even someone as strong as Lu Shi, an 8th-level Divine Lord, felt a chill run down his spine at this moment. It was as if he would turn into ashes in the next moment. Not good. Lu Shi's expression changed drastically. His body and mind were trembling. It was as if he would be destroyed in the next moment. He understood that the difference between him and the Taishu Saint Emperor was too great. An 8th-level Sir God was definitely a top-notch expert in the Taishu dynasty. Even the heavenly kings of the heavenly kings' palaces did not have such cultivation. However, compared to the Taishu Saint Emperor, the difference was like heaven and earth. The Taishu Saint Emperor was already at the limit of the Sir God realm. He was half a step into the next realm. Boom. The Taishu Saint Emperor's withered hand reached out, and an incomparably huge palm that blotted out the sky grabbed at Lu Shi. This palm covered over 100 million miles. It was too huge. The terrifying energy completely sealed Lu Shi. Lu Shi exploded with his full strength, but it was useless. He had already been sealed by the energy, and it was even difficult for him to breathe. At this moment he truly understood the difference between him and the Taishu Saint Emperor. He was incomparably terrified. Barbarian Emperor, save me. Boom. As soon as Lu Shi finished speaking, the space above Lu Shi suddenly fluctuated. A huge fist suddenly appeared and slammed into the Great Void Saint Emperor's palm, causing a terrifying explosion. At this moment the entire Taishu Saint capital seemed to tremble violently. The Taishu Saint capital was an incomparably huge ancient city that was like a planet. At this moment, it was trembling violently as if it was about to explode. However, in the next moment, countless runes appeared in all directions of the Taishu Saint capital, forming a huge array that dissipated the energy. The Taishu Saint capital had been passed down for countless years, and the array on it was not to be underestimated. Even an existence like the Taishu Saint Emperor would not be able to break it in an instant. The energy surged wildly, and the huge palm that the Taishu Saint Emperor had formed finally collapsed. Lu Shi was overjoyed. Like a shooting star, he instantly shot out tens of millions of miles. In just a few breaths' time, Lu Shi and the Taishu Saint Emperor had already rushed into the starry sky. And in front of Lu Shi, a burly figure appeared. This figure was more than 3 meters tall and he had a strong physique. His entire body was filled with muscles and he was filled with explosive power. Just by standing there he gave off a feeling that he was as heavy as a mountain, and that he was indestructible and could destroy everything. Barbarian Emperor. The Imperial Advisor muttered, and he was shocked. Barbarian Emperor. Everyone at the scene was shocked to the core. The Barbarian Emperor was the emperor of the barbarian race. He was the sovereign of the barbarian race. The Barbarian Emperor and the Taishu Saint Emperor were sworn enemies. Why would the Barbarian Emperor suddenly appear? Could it be that Lu Shi was instructed by the Barbarian Emperor? Judging from the scene just now, it was very likely. Barbarian Emperor. Lu Shi was overjoyed when he saw the Barbarian Emperor. He quickly flew behind the Barbarian Emperor and heaved a long sigh of relief. He felt that his entire body was drenched in cold sweat. Barbarian Emperor. The Taishu Saint Emperor's eyes were bloodshot, and they were filled with violent killing intent. Did you arrange all of this? The Taishu Saint Emperor asked. Chapter 3503. The Great Void Sage Emperor stared at the barbaric emperor with murderous intent in his eyes. That's right. I've arranged everything. The barbaric emperor said. Wuxia has been with me for 5 stellar years. How did you manage to bribe him? The great void sage emperor said. It's simple. Because Wuxia has been with me since 5 stellar years ago. The barbaric emperor said. Good, good, good. Barbaric emperor, you've been planning this for a long time. The great void sage emperor's face darkened. He did not expect the barbaric emperor to have been planning this since 5 stellar years ago. After sending Wuxia to him, the barbaric emperor had been waiting for him for 5 stellar years. Over such a long period of time, the barbaric emperor did not give himself away. It was only today that the barbaric emperor made his move. Haha, 5 stellar years of patience. It's all worth it. Now that you don't have the soul-nurturing flower, how many more years can you live? Isn't it satisfying to cut off all your hopes? Ah. The barbaric emperor laughed. These words made the great void saint emperor's killing intent even more intense. His body was filled with cold killing intent and his eyes were bloodshot. He roared, Barbaric emperor, even if I don't have much time left, I'll still drag you down with me before I die. This is the great void sage capital. You shouldn't have come. Since you're here, don't leave. Boom. The great void sage emperor's aura became even more terrifying. Divine light shone brightly like a star. The terrifying pressure caused the starry sky to tremble. With him as the center, huge cracks spread out in all directions. Terrifying. It was extremely terrifying. Even though the Taishu Sacred Emperor was far away in the starry sky and was at least a few 100 million miles away from the Taishu Sacred Capital, Lu Ming and the rest could still feel a terrifying pressure on their bodies, making it hard for them to breathe. Kill. Finally, the great void sage emperor roared and charged towards the barbaric emperor. You old fart. Let's see how you're going to kill me. The barbaric emperor shouted coldly. His body moved and the starry sky exploded. With a loud boom, the two attacks collided. At this moment, the starry sky exploded and countless cracks appeared. Boundless energy spread out in all directions, traversing an unknown distance in the blink of an eye. The great void sage emperor shone and blocked the energy. However, the asteroids and planets in the distant starry sky were not so lucky. In the blink of an eye, at least 100 meteorites exploded. In addition, a huge planet was hit by a wisp of energy and directly exploded. It was too terrifying. This was the battle prowess of a Saint Emperor. With a single move, it could destroy the world. Boom. After the great void Saint Emperor and the barbarian emperor exchanged one blow, they exchanged a second blow, then a third blow. They fought an intense battle, slaughtering their way into the depths of the starry sky. In the depths of the starry sky, planets would explode from time to time like fireworks in the universe. Terrifying, too terrifying. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with shock. With such strength he could kill him with a flick of his finger. What amazing combat strength. Lu Ming muttered. It's just a quasi-emperor. What's the big deal? If a true emperor were to take action, that would be even more shocking. With a single palm strike, the starry sky would explode and even the stars would crumble. In his sea of consciousness, Bone Demon spoke, revealing a trace of disdain. Quasi-emperor? True emperor? Lu Ming was stunned. The realm after the Divine Emperor realm is called the Divine Emperor. Only those who have stepped into the Divine Emperor realm are considered true emperors. Although these people are called Saint Emperors and Barbarian Emperors, they have not stepped into the Divine Emperor realm. They are only half a step into the Divine Emperor realm, so they can only be considered as quasi-emperors. Bone Demon explained. I see. The realm after the Divine Emperor realm is the Divine Emperor realm. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. In the small thousand world there was a realm called Martial Emperor. It meant the Martial Emperor, the Emperor of the martial artists. On the other hand, a Divine Emperor was an emperor among gods. Although they were both emperors, there was a huge gap between their realms. If a quasi-emperor is so terrifying, how powerful would the Divine Emperor realm be? Lu Ming muttered, truly shocked. Boom, boom, boom. Deep in the starry sky, the battle between the great void Saint Emperor and the barbarian emperor was getting more and more intense. However, the two of them were old rivals and both of them were quasi-emperors. It was difficult to determine the winner. Old man, it seems like you are really old. Is that all you have? Once you are dead, I will flatten the Taishu dynasty. Ah. The barbarian emperor laughed, deliberately provoking the great void Saint Emperor. This is the great void Saint capital. Since you are here, don't leave. Those above the Divine Emperor realm, attack together and kill the barbarian emperor. The great void Saint Emperor's old voice resounded throughout the great void Saint capital. Kill. Suddenly a few loud roars were heard. A few figures soared into the sky, exuding a terrifying aura. "It's the army king. And the sixth prince," someone exclaimed, recognizing a few people. The few people who had attacked were not ordinary people. They were all overlords in the Taishu dynasty. One of them was the army king of the Grand Council, who led all the troops of the Taishu dynasty. His cultivation was unfathomable and extremely terrifying. He was one of the few people in the Taishu dynasty. The other person was the great Void Saint Emperor's younger brother. He was known as the Sixth Prince and was also a top expert. The two of them were extremely fast. In an instant they had rushed into the starry sky, wanting to help the great Void Saint Emperor kill the barbarian emperor. However, the starry sky rippled like water. A few burly figures suddenly appeared. Each of them exuded an aura that was as deep as the sea, as if they were ancient beasts. These few people were all experts from the barbarian tribe. "You want to kill the barbarian emperor? Dream on. We will be your opponents." The few barbarians shouted coldly. Their auras soared into the sky as they fought with the army king and the sixth prince. "Father, let me help you." With a long roar, the crowd saw the second prince's aura soar into the sky. He was like a divine rainbow as he charged into the starry sky. However, when the second prince charged out, the void rippled as well. A powerful barbarian blocked him. At this moment, the crown prince and the state advisor looked at each other and nodded silently. "Father, let me help you." The crown prince roared and charged into the starry sky with the state advisor. They didn't really want to help the great Void Saint Emperor, but they had to put on an act now. Moreover, the soul cultivating flower had been destroyed. Even if they helped the great Void Saint Emperor kill the barbarian emperor, it wouldn't matter. Moreover, killing the barbarian emperor would be beneficial to him. When he ascended the throne in the future, he would have one less strong opponent. Therefore, the crown prince and the state advisor joined the battle. The moment the state advisor and the crown prince joined the battle, the other top experts of the Taishu dynasty also joined the battle. For example, the Holy Thousand King and the top few kings of the 27 heavenly king mansions also joined the battle and charged into the starry sky. However, the barbarian tribe was clearly prepared this time. They had sent out a large number of top experts. When the crown prince and the others charged into the starry sky, more experts from the barbarian tribe appeared. Chapter 3504. The starry sky above the great illusionary Saint capital was in a complete mess. It was too terrifying. The barbarian tribe had mobilized a large number of top experts and completely blocked the top experts of the Taishu dynasty. There were close to 20 top experts fighting in the starry sky. Boom, boom. The people below could only see the continuous explosions in the starry sky. The terrifying sound waves caused many people to turn pale and cough out blood. The starry sky continued to explode. All the meteorites in the area were swept away and turned into cosmic dust. One after another, violent cracks appeared, covering the entire starry sky like a spider web. It was unknown how many miles it stretched. Luckily, the great illusionary Saint capital was protected by an ancient array. Otherwise, they would have been annihilated by the shock waves of such a terrifying battle. Countless people widened their eyes and looked at the starry sky. The shock in their eyes could not be concealed. This was the power of a divine lord above the ninth heaven. It was too terrifying and ordinary people could not match up to it. This was the top fighting force of the Taishu dynasty and the barbarian tribe. It's about time for me to strike. At this moment, a cold laugh sounded from the starry sky. Following which, a figure suddenly appeared not far above the great illusionary Saint capital. It was an old man with dark skin and a shriveled body. He was like a skeleton and was wrapped in a large black robe. His hair was disheveled and his face was pale. Fog constantly emanated from his body. He held a pitch-black metal bell in his hand. He looked down coldly mainly at Lu Ming and the rest. Dang. In the next moment he shook the metal bell in his hand and it rang. The sound of the bell was ear-piercing and visible sound waves spread out. Boom. At this moment Lu Ming felt his soul tremble violently. It was as if he had been struck by lightning and his body shook violently. Lu Ming's face turned pale and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Soul attack. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly covered his soul with the frightening feather painting. The sound of the bell was not targeted at Lu Ming alone. It was an attack that covered a large area. Puff puff. At this moment, many people with weaker cultivations and weaker soul powers spat out mouthfuls of blood. Some even fell to the ground and stopped breathing. Their souls were destroyed and they died on the spot. It's a soul attack. Wu people, he's from the Wu people. Someone roared out, recognizing this shriveled black-robed elder. Many people were shocked. The Wu people were a long way from the Taishu dynasty. They were separated by at least a dozen universe-level powers. However, there was no doubt that the Wu people were extremely powerful, and their strength was unfathomable. They were far from being comparable to the Taishu dynasty, the Tianyi sacred dynasty, and the barbarian tribe. To put it bluntly, although the Taishu dynasty, the Tianyi sacred dynasty, and the barbarian tribe were also known as universe-level forces, they were only pseudo-universe-level forces. They were not real universe-level forces. A universe-level power had to have a true godly emperor to be considered a universe-level power. The Taishu dynasty, the Tianyi sacred dynasty, and the barbarian tribe only had quasi-emperors. They could only be considered as pseudo-universe-level powers. However, the Wu people were a true universe-level power. Why would the Wu people appear here to help the barbarian tribe? Why are you Wu people interfering in our battle? An elder from the Taishu dynasty shouted. We're not interfering. We're just returning a favor to the barbarian emperor. The elder from the Wu people said in a hoarse voice. Then the iron bell in his hand rang again. Clang. The continuous sound waves covered the square below. On the square, more people's bodies trembled violently. Their faces were pale. Those with weak cultivations died directly. Only those with higher cultivations could barely withstand the sound waves. Lu Ming's body trembled violently. His face was pale. What a terrifying soul attack. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. He had the Jianghu scroll which could protect his soul. However, under this kind of attack, the Jianghu scroll could not completely protect him. The sound waves still penetrated his soul. This showed how terrifying the opponent was. Lu Ming was considered to be in a good condition. The other talents from the Taishu dynasty were on the verge of collapse. They spat out blood and looked terrible. However, the talents from the Tianyi sacred dynasty were not affected at all. Obviously, the opponent was only targeting the Taishu dynasty, not the Tianyi sacred dynasty. All of you back off. Tianyi sacred emperor's voice rang in the ears of Qiu Qingtian and the others. The talents from the Tianyi sacred dynasty hurriedly retreated to the side of Tianyi sacred emperor and the others. Ha, old man, this time you've gathered all the talents from the Taishu dynasty. Then I'll kill all the talents from the Taishu dynasty. I'll end your era. How can you compete with the barbarian tribe in the future? The barbarian emperor's unbridled laughter rang out in the starry sky. Clang. The black iron bell rang again. This time it seemed to be targeting Lu Ming and the other talents. Its power gathered and was undoubtedly stronger. Lu Ming's face was pale. The other talents were even worse. Some of them collapsed on the ground and screamed. Damn it. Don't even think about it. I'll kill you. Roars rang out one after another. In the square, figures shot up into the sky and charged toward the old man from the Wu people. These were all experts. There were heavenly kings from the Heavenly King Mansion and top experts from the royal family. They were all 7th or even 8th level divine lords. A total of 8 people charged toward the old man from the Wu people. The space exploded and the scene was extremely shocking. There was a terrifying whistling sound. However, the old man from the Wu people's expression did not change. He even showed a hint of contempt. He waved his hand and 8 puppets appeared in the sky. These puppets held all kinds of weapons in their hands. They rushed toward the experts from the Taishu dynasty and slashed down with their weapons. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out. The 8 experts from the Taishu dynasty were all blocked. No matter how they attacked, they could not get close to the old man from the Wu people. Many people's expressions were ugly. It was said that the Wu people's methods were strange and unpredictable. It was true that they could block 8 top experts with just a few puppets. Of course, this was also related to the old man's own strength. This old man from the Wu people was definitely a 9th level divine lord or even a quasi-emperor. The experts from the Taishu dynasty kept attacking, but they could not break through the defense for a while. Tianyi, are you just going to sit there and watch the show? Let's attack together and kill these barbarians. I will reward you greatly. The great Void Saint Emperor's voice rang out. He wanted to invite the people from the Tianyi sacred dynasty to attack together. However, the Tianyi sacred emperor smiled faintly and said, Brother Jing, this is between you and the barbarians. The Tianyi sacred dynasty will not interfere. The great Void Saint Emperor was furious. Did he not know what the Tianyi sacred emperor was thinking? The Tianyi sacred dynasty wanted both sides to suffer. This was the most beneficial for the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Why should he interfere? The Taishu dynasty and the barbarians fought to the death. This was what the Tianyi sacred emperor wanted to see the most. Chapter 3505. Clang. The old man of the Wu people continued to attack. The iron bell rang, shaking the soul. Ah! Finally, there were some young heaven's favorites who couldn't hold on any longer. They let out shrill cries and their faces turned ferocious. In the end, their souls exploded and they died. Even the geniuses of the 9 general stars were struggling to hold on. Geniuses at the level of the 9 general stars would more or less have some means of soul defense or treasures that could block soul attacks. However, the opponent's soul power was too strong. It was said that the Wu people specialized in soul attacks. For example, the Jianghu heavenly palace of the Taishu dynasty could also attack souls, but compared to the Wu people it was child's play. If this continued, they wouldn't be able to hold on any longer. They would all die. But at this moment, a layer of light spread out from the spectator stands and enveloped Lu Ming and the others. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt that the sound wave attack outside was blocked. It was completely blocked. The pressure on him lessened and he heaved a sigh of relief. The other geniuses were the same. Lan Shu. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Blue Merchant had made a move. At this moment, Blue Merchant was floating above Lu Ming and the others. A layer of light spread out from between his eyebrows and blocked all the sound wave attacks. Blue Merchant's soul was abnormally strong. He had broken through to the Divine Lord realm with pure soul power. His soul power was so strong that even a quasi-emperor couldn't compare to it. After all, the others mainly focused on cultivating their star cores and divine power, not their souls. It was just that as their cultivation increased, their soul power would also increase accordingly. The old man of the Wu people frowned and seemed a little surprised. Then, the black mist around his body thickened, and the iron bell rang non-stop. The sound waves rushed down like a tide, but they were all blocked by Blue Merchant. What a strong soul. How can you have such a strong soul? The old man of the Wu people shouted in shock. He realized that Blue Merchant's soul was far stronger than his. He was from the Wu people and was born with a strong soul. Moreover, he had a soul cultivation technique that made his soul several times stronger than other cultivators of the same level. However, his soul power alone couldn't be as strong as Blue Merchant's. Blue Merchant didn't say a word. He used his soul power to protect Lu Ming and the others. Damn it, let's see how you block me. The old man of the Wu people shouted angrily. The iron bell in his hand kept growing until it was 100 meters tall. The center of the old shaman's brows also shone with a dazzling light that fused with the bell. Clang. Deafening bell chimes rang out one after another. Sound waves continued to surge downwards like a torrential river, flowing endlessly. The old man of the Wu people pushed his soul power to the extreme, wanting to destroy Blue Merchant's soul, but it was useless. Blue Merchant's forehead emitted a dazzling light that completely blocked the soul attack. Lan Shang's current soul force was already equivalent to second-level Divine Lord realm. This was pure soul force and did not have any divine power at all. Damn it, this person must have obtained some kind of soul treasure and had a heaven-defying encounter. Otherwise his soul power wouldn't be so strong. Even the Wu people don't have that much soul power. The old man of the Wu people shouted in his heart. Greed flashed in his eyes. In the next moment the bell stopped ringing. He didn't use the bell anymore. Instead, he wanted to use his divine power to kill Blue Merchant. But then a shocking sword light slashed toward the old man of the Wu people. It was Holy Old Heavenly King. Holy Old Heavenly King slashed at the old man of the Wu people as he fought with a barbarian race expert. The old man of the Wu people was shocked. He quickly waved his hand and a huge wooden puppet appeared. It held a battle sword and slashed out, clashing with Holy Old Heavenly King's sword light. With a loud explosion, the huge wooden puppet retreated, but it also blocked Holy Old Heavenly King's sword light. Haha, Barbarian Emperor, it seems like your plan to kill the prodigy of the Taishu dynasty is going to fail. The Great Void Sacred Emperor's laughter came from the depths of space. Humph, I didn't expect the Taishu dynasty to have someone with such strong soul power. This is beyond my expectations. The Barbarian Emperor replied coldly. It's beyond your expectations. Today all of you will stay here. The Great Void Sacred Emperor's voice was filled with killing intent. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, in the depths of the Great Void Sacred Capital, a few terrifying auras spread out. When these auras burst out, heaven and earth trembled. The entire Great Void Sacred Capital shook. So strong. Many people turned their gazes to the depths of the Imperial Palace, revealing looks of shock. These auras were too terrifying. They were not weaker than the Jun Wang, the 6th Wangya, and the others. They were all top experts. There are indeed some old monsters in seclusion in the depths of the Taishu dynasty. The Chinese Sacred Emperor whispered, but he was not too surprised. Any force would have some foundation. Their strength could not be what it looked like on the surface. The auras that appeared now were the foundation of the Taishu dynasty. They were some terrifying old monsters, but they were usually in seclusion. Whether it was the Tianyi sacred emperor or the barbarian tribe, they all had such a foundation. They would not make a move usually. They would only make a move at critical moments. Obviously, the Taishu dynasty had summoned these foundations. A few figures appeared from the depths of the palace. In the next moment they came close and killed their way into the depths of space, killing those barbarian tribe elites. The Great Void Sacred Emperor was determined to kill the barbarian tribe elites. He was furious. He was extremely furious. The destruction of the soul-cultivating flower had driven him crazy. He had to make the barbarian tribe stay so that he could vent the hatred in his heart. It's time to leave. At this moment, the barbarian emperor's voice sounded. You want to leave? Dream on. The Great Void Sacred Emperor shouted and launched a storm of attacks at the barbarian emperor. Even one of the foundations of the Taishu dynasty rushed over to help the Great Void Sacred Emperor kill the barbarian emperor. But at this moment, the barbarian emperor's body emitted a dazzling light. At the same time, the space around his body was filled with ripples. The Great Void Sacred Emperor roared and punched the barbarian emperor. With a violent boom, the barbarian emperor's body disappeared in an instant. In its place was a scarecrow, which was shattered by the Great Void Sacred Emperor's fist. At the same time, the other barbarians, including the old man of the Wu people, emitted a dazzling light. In the next moment they all turned into scarecrows. As for their true bodies, they had disappeared without a trace. All the barbarians, including the old man of the Wu people, disappeared in an instant. Only the scarecrows were left. Substitution technique. The Great Void Sacred Emperor roared. His face was extremely ferocious. Obviously this was the work of the old man of the Wu people. They had long been prepared to use the substitution technique at the critical moment to teleport the barbarian emperor and the others away. The substitution technique was a strange technique of the Wu people. As long as it was set up in advance, it could teleport people away at the critical moment. It was really mysterious. Chapter 3506. Although the barbarian emperor and the others had teleportation arrays on their bodies, they needed time to activate them. In such a big battle, there was no chance to activate the teleportation arrays. As for the substitution technique, as long as it was set up in advance, they could be teleported away in an instant. This was how terrifying the Wu people were. The Wu people were a race that could be listed in the list of 10,000 primitive races. They were extremely powerful and were not something the barbarian race could compare to. Damn the Wu people. Taishu Saint Emperor roared. Of course he only roared. He did not dare to cause trouble for the Wu people. Although he was already a boundary emperor, if he encountered a real divine emperor, he would probably be slapped to death. There was no doubt that he would not be able to escape. The scene quieted down. The crown prince and the state preceptor sneered. There were many accidents today. Because of Lu Ming, the Taishu dynasty had defeated the Tianyi sacred dynasty and obtained the soul-nourishing flower. However, because of the barbarian emperor's appearance, the soul-nourishing flower was destroyed. At least the Taishu Saint Emperor could not obtain the soul-nourishing flower and achieve their goal. Lu Ming. The crown prince and the state preceptor's eyes flashed coldly. As for Lu Ming, they could get rid of him later. Brother Jing, the competition is over. We will take our leave. Tianyi Saint Emperor stood up and cupped his fists. Go ahead. Forgive me for not seeing you off. Taishu Saint Emperor said coldly. He was unhappy that Tianyi Saint Emperor did not help him just now. Of course he would not make Tianyi Saint Emperor stay. If Tianyi Saint Emperor could come here, he must be prepared. There were probably many top experts in the Tianyi sacred dynasty. Moreover, if he attacked Tianyi Saint Emperor and the others, it would only benefit the barbarian race. If the barbarian race and the Tianyi sacred dynasty joined forces, the Taishu dynasty would be in danger. Therefore, although he was angry, he would not attack Tianyi Saint Emperor and the others. Let's go. Tianyi Saint Emperor could not be bothered with the Taishu Saint Emperor. He shouted and left with his people. For a moment, only the people of the Taishu dynasty were left in the square. At this moment, no one made a sound. The scene fell into silence. Everyone knew that the Taishu Saint Emperor was definitely in a rage right now. He was like a bomb that would explode at the slightest touch. Whoever offended the Taishu Saint Emperor would probably end up in a miserable state. Just like that, the entire place fell into silence. The Taishu Saint Emperor stood high up in the sky, his body emanating a tyrannical aura. He seemed to be adjusting himself. Just like that, after a long while, the Taishu Saint Emperor finally retracted his violent aura. He floated down and landed on the square. Greetings, Saint Emperor. Everyone bowed. Forget it. The Taishu Saint Emperor waved his hand, and then his gaze descended onto Blue Merchant. His eyes glowed brightly as if he wanted to see through Blue Merchant. After a short while, a strange smile appeared on the corners of the Taishu Saint Emperor's mouth as he said, "Blue Merchant, you really are a peerless genius. You were actually able to take another path and cultivate your soul to the Divine Monarch realm after your stellar core was destroyed. Not bad." Blue Merchant cupped his fists and said, "You flatter me, Saint Emperor. I was just lucky to break through." Sometimes luck is also a part of talent. The Saint Emperor smiled, and then his gaze fell on Lu Ming. He said, "Lu Ming, your talent has exceeded my expectations. You can be said to be the strongest in the history of the Taishu dynasty. You have even surpassed you, or also, this time you have helped the Sacred Dynasty defeat the Qiani Sacred Dynasty. I will definitely fulfill the conditions that I have promised you. I will definitely send people to search for your parents." "Thank you, Saint Emperor." Lu Ming was overjoyed. With the help of the Saint Emperor, it would be much easier to find his parents. "Alright, all of you can leave." The Taishu Saint Emperor waved his hand, seemingly tired. He took a step forward and disappeared into the depths of the palace. The rest of the people also left. Lu Ming looked at Di Jiani. He really had an impulse to kill Di Jiani. However, when he saw Di Jiani standing beside the Crown Prince and the Imperial Advisor, he knew that he could not do it. After that, Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and the rest left and returned to the Hidden Dragon Duke's mansion. The news of the battle spread like wildfire. It spread throughout the Taishu Saint capital, and then the entire Taishu dynasty. Lu Ming's fame was pushed to the peak. He also gained a lot of titles. He was the strongest genius in the history of the Taishu dynasty. He was also the leader of the 9 great generals. He was the youngest marquis in history and so on. In short, everyone knew who Lu Ming was all of a sudden. Many people even thought that if Lu Ming did not die, he would definitely break through the bottleneck of the Divine Emperor realm in the future and become the first person in the history of the Taishu dynasty to reach the Divine Emperor realm. Yes, in the history of the Taishu dynasty, no one had really reached the Divine Emperor realm, including the one who founded the Taishu dynasty. The Taishu dynasty had gone through 6 generations of Saint Emperors, and no one had broken through the bottleneck. Back then, Jianghu was thought to be the most likely, but unfortunately he had died. Now Lu Ming was also thought to be the same. However, no matter how big the commotion outside was, Lu Ming stayed in the Hidden Dragon Duke's mansion to cultivate. He did not return to the Heavenly Chaos Starfield. He stayed in the Taishu Saint capital to wait for news of his parents. This wait lasted for a year. After a year, the Taishu Saint Emperor sent someone to see Lu Ming. There was news of his parents. "The Saint Emperor has investigated. Your parents might have been taken away and locked in a remote galaxy in the Dark Pine Starfield. Here is the map." An elder handed a map to Lu Ming and then left. The Taishu Saint Emperor was only helping him investigate. As for the rescue, he still had to rely on himself. Dark Pine Starfield. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. He immediately called for Yuan Tsong and a few other 6th-level divine monarchs from the Dark Ape fighting race to save his parents. "Lu Ming, I will go with you. If we encounter any array or soul attacks, I can help," Blue Merchant said as he walked over. "All right." Lu Ming nodded after pondering for a while. Indeed, Blue Merchant was strong in soul attacks and arrays. Yuan Tsong and the others could not replace him. "Lu Ming, this incident is very strange. I have a bad feeling about it. So, we should go back to the Hidden Dragon Star and bring Yuan Huan with us, just in case," Blue Merchant said. Yuan Huan was already an 8th Heaven Divine King and had cultivated the primitive divine body. He was strong and it would be safer to bring him along. "All right." Lu Ming nodded. They immediately left the Taishu Saint capital and returned to the Hidden Dragon Star. Then they brought Yuan Huan and a few other Dark Ape fighting tribe experts to the Dark Pine Starfield. Taishu Saint capital, deep in the palace in a hall. The Taishu Saint Emperor was at the top of the hall. Below him, a few figures stood respectfully. "Has Lu Ming and the rest left?" The Taishu Saint Emperor's voice was cold. Chapter 3507. "Your Majesty, they have already set off not long ago," a black-robed old man said respectfully. "Lan Shang, do you want to join us?" The Great Void Sage Emperor asked with anticipation. "As you expected, Blue Merchant and Lu Ming have set off together," the black-robed old man replied. "Good, good, good." The Great Void Sage Emperor said good 3 times. His eyes shone brightly and he seemed to be extremely excited. This Blue Merchant's soul power suddenly erupted and reached the Divine Lord realm. He must have obtained some soul-type treasure. If I can obtain such a treasure, I might be able to rejuvenate my soul and extend my lifespan. The great Void Sage Emperor muttered. His eyes were filled with greed. Previously, when Blue Merchant showed his terrifying soul power, the great Void Sage Emperor had his suspicions. He suspected that Blue Merchant must have obtained some powerful soul-type treasure. This was the treasure he needed the most. Whether it was useful or not, he had to obtain it. The Dark Pine Star region was very far away from the great Void Sage Emperor. It was a remote star region of the Taishu dynasty, just like the Qingtian star region. Lu Ming and the rest went through a wormhole and arrived not far from the Dark Pine Star region. Then they rushed towards a destination according to the map. With their current speed, they were too fast. They left planets behind them one by one. Before long, a huge planet appeared in front of them. This was a desolate planet. It was a dead planet. There were no living beings around it. There were no other planets or stars. It was filled with silence and desolation. It was also dark. This was very remote. If not for the map, they wouldn't have been able to find it. The map showed that Lu Ming's parents were on this planet. "Let's go," Lu Ming muttered. Then they retracted their auras and flew towards the planet. Soon they landed on the planet. It was dark and desolate. There were no living beings. They followed a direction and slowly searched. Not long after, fog appeared in front of them. It was extremely dense. "Be careful. I feel that something is wrong," Blue Merchant cautioned. His soul power was strong and his senses were sharp. Shoo shoo. As soon as Lan Shang finished his words, there was a terrifying air-rending sound in the surroundings. The void exploded and a few sword gleams pierced toward Lu Ming and the rest. Their speed was shockingly fast. Terrifying, incomparably terrifying. Lu Ming felt that he would not be able to withstand even one of these sword lights. He would be killed in one strike. "Be careful." Yuan Huan and the rest were very fast, surrounding Lu Ming and Blue Merchant in the middle. Following that, several 6th-level Divine Lord Realm Dark Ape Fighting Race members punched out. Boom. The void was pierced as the fist of the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members collided with the sword light. A terrifying explosion was heard, but the sword light was not destroyed. It was only deflected. The Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members were also pushed back. 6th-level Divine Lord Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and the others were shocked. Clearly, the other party was also a 6th-level Divine Lord, since he could repel the 6th-level Divine Lord Realm Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members. Who was it that kidnapped his parents and actually sent out a 6th-level Divine Lord to protect them? Moreover, there were several of them. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sword lights retreated and charged towards them again. The 6th-level Divine Lord Realm experts were about to charge forward again. "Don't make a move. Protect the Mansion Lord and the rest," Yuan Tsong shouted as he rushed out. As though he had sensed a trace of danger, he ordered the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members to retreat. Boom, boom, boom. The strength of the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members was at the 7th-level Divine Lord Realm. How powerful was he? As he punched out continuously, his fist force broke through the void and could kill 6th-level Divine Lords. But at this moment, one of the sword lights suddenly exploded, emitting a terrifying fluctuation that far exceeded the 6th-level Divine Lord Realm. It clashed with Yuan Tsong's fist continuously. A few terrifying explosions rang out, and a violent force swept out. A huge explosion occurred on the planet beneath their feet. In an instant, magma soared into the sky and the entire planet exploded. But the lava fragments formed by the explosion were all turned into ashes under the energy of Yuan Tsong and that sword light's collision, turning into cosmic dust. Following that, Yuan Tsong's figure swayed and he retreated 3 steps in a row. And the sword light that he got also drifted back. 7th-level Divine Lord Realm. Lu Ming and the rest sucked in a cold breath. The other party actually had a 7th-level Divine Lord Realm expert. Fortunately, Yuan Tsong sensed danger just now and personally took action. Otherwise, those 6th-level Divine Lord Realm Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members would be in danger. At least one of them would be killed. The planet exploded. Lu Ming and the rest stood in the cosmic void. Swoosh, swoosh. With a flash, many figures in black robes appeared around Lu Ming and the rest. There were a total of 12 of them and they surrounded them. "Who are you guys? Why did you kidnap my parents?" Lu Ming shouted. "Kidnap your parents? We don't know where your parents are at all." One of the black-robed men sneered. "What?" Lu Ming was shocked. If the other party didn't know where his parents were, then why did the Taishu Saint Emperor say that? Could it be that the Taishu Saint Emperor was lying to him? "Lu Ming, it seems like we've fallen into a trap. This is an ambush." Blue Merchant's face turned ugly. That's right. You've fallen into a trap. This is indeed an ambush. Don't think of leaving today. A cold voice sounded. Ripples appeared in the void and another black-robed man appeared. This black-robed man's aura was even more terrifying. 8th level Divine Lord Realm. Yuan Huan said with a grave expression. The other party actually sent out an 8th level Divine Lord Realm expert. Taishu Saint Emperor. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. Needless to say, these people were sent by the Taishu Saint Emperor. To be honest, there weren't many people in the Taishu dynasty who could send out such a lineup. But why did the Taishu Saint Emperor send people to ambush them? Why did he want to kill them? Thoughts spun in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming, it seems like we've really underestimated you. I didn't expect that you even have an 8th level Divine Lord Realm existence by your side. That 8th level Divine Lord black-robed man looked at Yuan Huan. This was really somewhat unexpected. Originally, they thought that the strongest person by Lu Ming's side should only be the 7th level Divine Lord Yuan Huan. Because when Lu Ming submitted his merits at the Grand Council, the rest Shadow Stone showed the scene of Yuan Huan taking action. 7th level Divine Lord Realm Cultivation. But it didn't show Yuan Huan. They didn't expect that there was actually an 8th level Divine Lord existence by Lu Ming's side. Yuan Huan, you protect Battle Ancestor well. Leave these people to me. Yuan Huan stepped forward. A powerful aura spread out, making the entire starry sky tremble. The faces of those 6th level Divine Lord and even 7th level Divine Lord black-robed men changed drastically and involuntarily retreated repeatedly. Kill. Suddenly Yuan Huan suddenly attacked. An iron rod appeared in his hand. The iron rod swept out, incomparably huge, enveloping all the black-robed men. Chapter 3508. Yuan Huan suddenly attacked, his aura shocking. The iron staff was as large as a planet, sweeping across the starry sky. 8th level Divine Lord, the moment he attacked, he displayed terrifying power. However, the other party was clearly long prepared. The instant Yuan Huan attacked, that 8th level Divine Lord black-robed man also attacked. A resplendent sword light illuminated the pitch-black universe. No idea how long it was, it slashed toward Yuan Huan. With a clank, the sword light collided with the iron staff, erupting with an earth-shaking rumble. One blast of force after another burst out, rushing into the depths of the starry sky, leaving behind one imprint after another that was who knows how many miles long. Yuan Huan and the black-robed man retreated at the same time. You all go and carry out the mission. Leave this person to me. The 8th level Divine Lord black-robed man said to the other black-robed men. Yes. Those black-robed men received the order. Their figures flickered, rushing toward Lu Ming they all. And the 8th level Divine Lord black-robed man attacked again. Sword light shocking the heavens, killing toward Yuan Huan. Yuan Huan wanted to rescue Lu Ming they all, but the other party was too strong. He could only do his best to resist. The two instantly exchanged more than a dozen moves. While the other black-robed men rushed toward Lu Ming they all. Courting death. Yuan Huan roared, his iron fists blasting out continuously. The starry sky exploded. One terrifying fist force after another pierced through the starry sky, sweeping across the starry sky, killing toward those black-robed men. But two dazzling sword lights burst forth, the power not the slightest bit weaker than Yuan Huan. The other party actually had two 7th level Divine Lord powerhouses. Bang, bang. Two 7th level Divine Lord powerhouses joining hands, their strength was too strong, instantly suppressing Yuan Huan, making him retreat repeatedly. Kill. Following that, the other black-robed men rushed toward Lu Ming they all. Retreat. Lu Ming they all retreated hastily, but the other party pursued closely, their speed astonishing. One sword light after another enveloped toward Lu Ming they all. Kill. Protect War Ancestor. The remaining Dark Ape fighting race members shouted, raising their combat power to the extreme. While protecting Lu Ming and Blue Merchant, they also fought with these black-robed men. These people's cultivations were too high. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant were no match for them. For a time, a chaotic battle broke out in this area, and it was a complete mess. However, Lu Ming and the others were no match for them. After all, they had fewer people and were suppressed. Apart from Yuan Huan and Yuan Tsong, Lu Ming had brought a total of 6 6th-level Divine Lords from the Dark Ape fighting race. However, the other party had a total of 11 people. If it weren't for the fact that the Dark Ape Battle Tribe had cultivated the Ghost Battle art, they would have been defeated long ago. Even so, they were still no match for them. They could only form a circle around Lu Ming and Blue Merchant to protect them. They only had the power to defend and had no power to counterattack. After all, those black-robed men possessed extremely powerful battle prowess. They were no ordinary people. Far away, Yuan Huan and that 8th-level Divine Lord Existence's great battle became even more intense. From the looks of it, you should have just broken through to the 8th-level Divine Lord realm not long ago. You're no match for me. Hunting sword, kill, kill, kill. The 8th-level Divine Lord Black-robed man roared. His sword light was endless. Every sword was a killing move, and its power was getting stronger and stronger. For a time, Yuan Huan was actually forced to retreat. Die. The 8th-level Divine Lord Black-robed man shouted coldly. Who can you kill? Yuan Huan shouted. He used the ghost battle art to the extreme and raised his battle prowess to the extreme. Following that, his body swelled rapidly and turned into a giant ape. This was the primordial divine body. Yuan Huan's cultivation was extremely high. Moreover, he was able to cultivate to the peak of the 7th-level Divine Lord realm. His talent was extremely shocking. Therefore, during this period of time, Yuan Huan had already cultivated the primordial divine body to the 4th transformation. Brr! Yuan Huan roared. The iron rod swept across the sky and swept out. Clang! The iron rod collided with the other party's long sword once again. This time, the sword light shook violently and the black-robed man was forced to retreat. Primordial divine body. The other party shouted in shock. Brr! At this moment, Yuan Tsong and the other Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members all displayed the primordial divine body. Among them, Yuan Tsong's primordial divine body was also cultivated to the 4th transformation. The other Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members were weaker and were only at the 3rd transformation. Even so, their battle prowess had increased by a notch. Yuan Tsong was fighting 1 against 2. At first, he was completely at a disadvantage. However, at this moment, he had turned the tables and temporarily stabilized the situation. The 6th-level Divine Lord Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members also temporarily blocked the other party's attack. Damn it! All of you have the primordial divine body. How could all of you have cultivated the primordial divine body? The black-robed man roared in disbelief. The primordial divine body was a powerful physique secret technique. The cultivation conditions were extremely harsh. It wasn't something that could be cultivated just because one wanted to. Firstly, one needed the cultivation method of the primordial divine body. This was already very rare and precious. Moreover, even if one had the cultivation method of the primordial divine body, the cultivation conditions were also very harsh. It was understandable that 1 or 2 geniuses could cultivate it. But why were all the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members able to cultivate it? Kill? Yuan Huan couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with the black-robed man. He launched a violent attack. The black-robed man kept swinging his iron rod at the black-robed man. In an instant, the black-robed man was suppressed and was forced to retreat. Hold on. Wait for me to kill this man. I'll come and save you. Yuan Huan shouted and transmitted his voice to Yuan Tsong and the others. As long as he defeated the black-robed man, the situation would be completely reversed. Don't worry. Yuan Tsong and the others replied. Lu Ming had been observing the black-robed man's attacks. Something's not right. The black-robed man's target seems to be Lan Shu. He has been staring at Lan Shu. His murderous intent has also shrouded Lan Shu. More attacks are also directed at Lan Shu. Lu Ming's mind raced. He was very surprised. He had thought that the black-robed man's target was him. Unexpectedly, that wasn't the case. This was because the black-robed man's murderous intent didn't land on him at all. Instead, it landed on Blue Merchant. He was just collateral damage. Clearly, Blue Merchant had also noticed this point. His eyes flickered and he was also surprised. Yuan Tsong and the 6th-level Divine Lords from the Dark Ape Combat Tribe blocked the black-robed man's attacks. Meanwhile, Yuan Huan's attacks were getting stronger and stronger. Damn it! The 8th-level Divine Lord roared. He knew that they had miscalculated this time. He didn't expect that there would be an 8th-level Divine Lord by Lu Ming's side. Moreover, they had cultivated the primordial divine body. Originally, with their strength, killing Lu Ming, Yuan Tsong, and the others would be easy. However, they didn't expect Yuan Huan to be here. At this moment, Yuan Huan's battle strength was extremely violent. He had already suppressed him. After a long battle, he would definitely lose. Clang. Right at this moment, the sound of a sword suddenly rang out in the distant starry sky. A dazzling sword light was like a celestial flying from outer space. It crossed the vast starry sky and slashed toward Yuan Huan. Yuan Huan's expression changed drastically because this sword light could already pose a fatal threat to him. At the crucial moment, the iron staff in his hand changed. It swept away several staff shadows and blasted toward the sword light. Clang. Several deafening explosions rang out. Yuan Huan's staff shadows disappeared. His figure swayed slightly and he retreated a few steps. Chapter 3509. A terrifying sword light forced Yuan Huan back. Following that, the void flashed and another black-robed man appeared. This black-robed man's speed was astonishing. In a flash, he appeared not far away from Yuan Huan. 8th level Divine Lord. Yuan Huan's expression was incomparably solemn. I really didn't expect them to have such a powerful existence. Fortunately, the Lord was considerate and let us follow you secretly just in case. Otherwise, you'll be doomed today. The black-robed man who appeared behind said coldly. You? Who else? The black-robed man from before said. Me. A cold voice came from the starry sky not far away. Following that, another figure appeared. Another extremely terrifying expert. Yuan Huan's heart sank and his expression became ugly. In the next moment, Yuan Huan turned around and rushed towards Lu Ming's side. Go! Yuan Huan growled. His violent aura rushed towards the black-robed men who were surrounding Yuan Huan and Lu Ming. Yuan Huan's strength was so strong that his aura was like a wave. Those black-robed men were instantly scattered and retreated in all directions. The encirclement of Lu Ming's group also dispersed. Go quickly! Yuan Huan roared anxiously. Because the two black-robed men who appeared behind him were too powerful. They were both 8th level Divine Lords. Yuan Huan was still confident in dealing with one such person. But 2 he would lose without a doubt. If there were 3 it would definitely be a dead end. Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and the rest also knew the seriousness of the matter and flew back one after another. Wanna leave? Today none of you can think about leaving. Go. The 2 black-robed men who appeared behind him said coldly. Their figures flashed like black phantoms, sweeping across the universe's starry sky and rushing towards Lu Ming's group. Their speed was shockingly fast. Before they arrived, a terrifying sword light had already slashed towards Lu Ming's group. The sword light was shocking, spanning a boundless distance and was incomparably huge. It completely enveloped Lu Ming's group. No matter how they dodged, they were enveloped by the sword light. You guys go first. I'll hold them back. Yuan Huan roared. He turned around and waved his iron staff, sweeping away thousands of soldiers as he attacked the 2 sword lights. 2 loud explosions rang out, and Yuan Huan's body shook violently as he retreated. At this moment, a resplendent sword light pierced towards Yuan Huan. It was that 8th level Divine Lord Blackrobe person who exchanged blows with Yuan Huan previously. This sword was too fast. And Yuan Huan had just been repelled at this time and found it hard to dodge. Yuan Huan roared and barely managed to move back a distance. However, he still couldn't completely dodge the attack. Puchi. The sword light pierced through Yuan Huan's abdomen and blood flowed out. You want to block it? Let's see how you're going to block it alone. One of the black-robed men sneered. His sword light surged once again as he charged towards Yuan Huan. While the remaining 7th level Divine Lord and 6th level Divine Lord black-robed people continued rushing towards Lu Ming, they all. Boom. Boom. After a few more moves, Yuan Huan was forced back again and again. Another sword wound appeared on his body, penetrating his bones. The situation was perilous. Once Yuan Huan was defeated, Lu Ming and the others would definitely die. Ah, die for me. Kill them. Remember, capture that guy alive first. Search his body for treasures that are useful to Lord before killing him. Some of the black-robed people laughed loudly and charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Boom. Right at this moment, the void exploded. A saber light slashed out, slashing directly onto one of the black-robed people. This black-robed person had 6th level Divine Lord Cultivation, but he couldn't resist at all. He was directly split into 2 by the saber light, dying on the spot. Who's there? Several black-robed people roared in shock as they retreated. The void filled up. After that, one figure after another appeared. There was a total of 7 people. These 7 people were wrapped in blood-red robes from head to toe. Their faces couldn't be seen at all. Kill. After these red-robed people appeared, they charged towards the black-robed people. Moreover, their strength was very shocking. The person in the lead had a terrifying aura. He was an 8th level Divine Lord expert. He charged towards Yuan Huan and slashed down with his saber, charging towards one of the black-robed people. As for the other red-robed people, they also charged towards the black-robed people and the battle became a mess. What's going on? Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, and the others were a little confused. Who sent these red-robed people? They actually came to help them. So many experts. In the entire Taishu dynasty, There weren't many forces that could send out so many experts, right? Moreover, how did they know that Lu Ming and the others would be ambushed here? Lu Ming's mind spun rapidly, but he couldn't think of a reason. However, they naturally wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. The dark ape fighting race fought back and finally blocked the black-robed people. However, they were still at a disadvantage in the peak battlefield. Although there was an additional red-robed person joining forces with Yuan Huan, they were still only 2 people. The other party had 3 people. Yuan Huan and the red-robed person were at a disadvantage. Who are you people? How dare you spoil our plans? You're courting death. A black-robed person shouted, his voice cold. However, the red-robed person didn't say a word and attacked with all his might. Universe Ring. Suddenly, a cold voice came from above the starry sky. Then golden light shone brightly. A golden collar suddenly flew out and smashed toward an 8th-level Divine Lord black-robed person. Rumble. The starry sky kept exploding. That golden collar's power was terrifying to the extreme, piercing through the universe's starry sky. Not good. The 3 black-robed people's faces changed drastically. Their voices trembled, revealing a look of horror. Then they retreated frantically. However, it was already too late. One of the black-robed people was shrouded by the golden collar. No matter how he attacked, he couldn't break out. No! He roared. In the next instant, the golden collar smashed into his body. This terrifying 8th-level Divine Lord existence's body directly exploded, turning into ashes. An 8th-level Divine Lord expert died just like that. Lu Ming and the others were stunned. In the next instant, they discovered that a figure had appeared above the starry sky at some point in time. This figure was also shrouded in layers of fog, completely unable to see the appearance. It seemed that these people who appeared today were all unwilling to show their true faces to others. However, this figure's figure was petite and seemed to be a woman. She gave a light cry and controlled the golden collar, smashing it toward the second 8th-level Divine Lord existence. Those 2 8th-level Divine Lord black-robed people retreated wildly, not daring to resist at all. Because they already sensed that the person who appeared last was too terrifying, surpassing 8th-level Divine Lord. It was very likely a 9th-level Divine Lord existence. Divine Lord Realm, the difference of 1 level was the difference between heaven and earth. It was instant kill. A 9th-level Divine Lord was not what they could contend with at all. They could only retreat. You all hold them back, I'll kill them. That figure who appeared at the back opened her mouth, the voice crisp. It was clearly a woman. Only at this time did Yuan Huan and those red-robed people react to it, charging toward the other party one after another, wanting to hold the other party back. Chapter 35:10. As for the woman, she controlled the Vajra ring to attack an 8th-level Divine Lord. The black-robed man frantically retreated, but the Vajra ring's speed was astonishing. It turned into a golden light and instantly caught up to him. The black-robed man roared and slashed out a sword light with all his strength. This sword was incomparably stunning. No matter what planet it was, it would be destroyed by this sword. The starry sky was split open and a pitch-black crack appeared. Clang. In the end, the sword slashed the Vajra ring. The sword light shook violently and then directly exploded. In the end, even the black-robed man's battle sword exploded. The Vajra ring didn't stop. It carried boundless power as it bombarded the black-robed man. The black-robed man didn't even have time to scream before he turned into ashes. In just a short while, 2 8th-level Divine Lords were killed in succession. This scene was simply explosive. 8th-level Divine Lords were definitely peak experts in the Taishu dynasty. One had to know that some of the weaker heavenly kings were only 7th-level Divine Lords. These people were all existences on equal footing with heavenly kings. But now they were being killed one after another. There was only one 8th-level Divine Lord left. This person was incomparably terrified. He frantically retreated, wanting to escape. However, Yuan Huan and the red-robed man pursued relentlessly. They constantly attacked and entangled this person, preventing him from activating the teleportation formation on his body to escape. At this time, the woman above controlled the Vajra ring and attacked. Who are you? I'm telling you, I'm His Majesty the Sacred Emperor's people. How dare you kill us? This is a great crime worthy of 9 familial extermination, roared the black-robed man. Originally, he didn't want to reveal his identity because the higher-ups had instructed him not to. But now that his life was on the line, he couldn't care so much. He could only use the Taishu Sacred Emperor as a deterrent. Unfortunately, whether it was Yuan Huan, the red-robed man, or the woman above, they didn't hesitate at all. They didn't stop attacking. You're all treacherous. The final 8th level Divine Lord only had time to let out an unwilling roar before he was struck by the Vajra ring and killed. At this point, the 3 8th level Divine Lord black-robed men had all been killed. As for the remaining black-robed men, they were nearly scared to death. They frantically tried to escape, but Yuan Tsong, the Nether Ape battle race and the red-robed men firmly held them back. At this time Yuan Huan and the others charged over. "You're all treacherous," the black-robed men frantically resisted, but the result was already decided. Not long after, all of the black-robed men were killed. "Thank you all Divine Lord for your help. I know who sent you. You've been sent here, but I don't know who sent you." Divine Lord's Divine Lord. For the black-robed man, for the woman. "No need, we just don't want those people to succeed." Of the Divine Lord. And the black horror-bed men's. Divine. The woman in the starry sky spoke. She was still shrouded in mist, and her appearance couldn't be seen clearly. After she finished speaking, her figure flashed, and she disappeared without a trace. Divine Emperor. Lu Ming clenched his fists. His eyes were cold. This time, it was obvious that the Divine Void Divine Lord had tricked him into coming here. He had set up an ambush to kill them. Moreover, the Divine Void Divine Lord's target seemed to be Blue Merchant. Could it be because of the Soul Mother? Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart stirred as he thought of this. "Lu Ming, you should have guessed it. If I'm not wrong, the Divine Void Divine Lord wants to kill me and take the Soul Mother for himself." Blue Merchant looked at Lu Ming. His expression was ugly. He had also thought of this. "Back at the Divine Void Divine Lord's birthday, I used my soul power to block the soul attack of the Wu people. Although I didn't use the Soul Mother, the Divine Void Divine Lord must have suspected that I had obtained a precious soul treasure. And now he has a strong desire for all soul treasures. That's why he sent people to ambush us." Lan Shang continued to speak, and his speculations were not far from the mark. Those red-robed men and that woman seemed to be from two different factions. Who sent them? Why would they save us? Lu Ming frowned. He was still very puzzled. Those who know about the Divine Emperor's plan are most likely people by his side. Those red-robed men, if I'm not wrong, were sent by the Crown Prince. Blue Merchant said. The Crown Prince? This time Lu Ming was really shocked. The Crown Prince sent them? The Crown Prince actually sent people to save them? Didn't the Crown Prince want to cut Lu Ming into pieces? Why would he send people to save them? This answer was really beyond Lu Ming's expectations. As if seeing Lu Ming's confusion, Blue Merchant said, "If it was only the Divine Emperor who wanted to kill you, the Crown Prince would definitely clap his hands in joy. Why would he save you? But if there was some treasure that could extend the Divine Emperor's lifespan, the Crown Prince naturally wouldn't watch the Divine Emperor succeed." With Blue Merchant's explanation, Lu Ming understood. The Divine Emperor's lifespan was coming to an end. After the Divine Emperor died, the Crown Prince would succeed to the throne. If the Divine Emperor's lifespan was extended, how could the Crown Prince succeed to the throne? Therefore, compared to Lu Ming's life, the Divine Emperor's position was more important. That was why the Crown Prince sent people to sabotage and prevent the Divine Emperor from succeeding. In that case, who sent that woman? Lu Ming thought of that woman again. There weren't many 9th-level Divine Lords in the entire Taishu dynasty, right? I don't know. I can't see through her at all. Lan Shang shook his head and furrowed his brows. They discussed for a while but still couldn't figure out the woman's background. Then they didn't stay any longer and left. After a period of time, they were far away from Dark Pine Galaxy before stopping. "Lan Shu, the Taishu Divine Emperor didn't get the treasure on you this time. I'm afraid he won't let this matter rest. He'll definitely send people to deal with you again." Lu Ming frowned, his expression grave. He was very unhappy, very unhappy. He didn't get any news of his parents, and now Blue Merchant was targeted by the Taishu Divine Emperor. This made him furious and frustrated. "Lu Ming, calm down. Your parents should be fine. The other party wants to use your parents to threaten you, so won't they do anything to your parents? Therefore at this time he has to raise his strength. The stronger you are, the stronger the force you control and the more weight you carry. The more weight you carry, the more the other party will value you, and the more value you will have to be used. Your parents will be safer." Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming took a deep breath and calmed himself down. "As for me, it looks like I'll have to play dead." Blue Merchant continued. "Play dead?" Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Playing dead was indeed a good idea. Chapter 35:11. But how should they carry it out? After that, Lu Ming and Blue Merchant discussed and came up with a plan. They could borrow Yi Tian's power and lead the trouble to the barbarian tribe. They did it right away. They immediately went to Etion's place of contact and discussed with him to make a plan. Then, Lu Ming returned to the hidden dragon star and led the Dark Ape fighting tribe to the battlefield of the barbarian tribe. Not long after, a piece of news spread rapidly in the Taishu dynasty. Lu Ming led people to fight the barbarian tribe and was ambushed by them. They suffered heavy casualties. Even Jianghu's teacher, Blue Merchant, died in the battle and his body was taken away by the barbarian tribe. Moreover, the recording of the Rest Shadow Stone was circulated. In an instant it caused a huge commotion. After all, Blue Merchant was Jianghu's teacher. He was extremely talented and was a top expert in the Taishu dynasty. Unfortunately, because of Jianghu's case, his star core was destroyed and he died in the hands of the barbarian tribe. Was really a pity. This big show was naturally planned by Lu Ming and Etion. Everything was fake, but they acted as if it was real. Taishu Dynasty, Imperial Palace Hall. Damn it. In the hall there was a furious roar. The violent aura shrouded the entire Imperial Palace. Many guards were trembling with pale faces. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. In the hall there were a few people standing below. They kept quiet out of fear and didn't dare to make a sound. Taishu Saint Emperor sat at the top. His face was distorted and full of ferocious murderous intent. Damn it. Damn Blue Merchant, damn Lu Ming, damn the barbarian tribe. The Great Void Saint Emperor continued to roar in anger. He didn't understand why things turned out this way. He had arranged everything flawlessly. He pretended to have found Lu Ming's parents and deceived Lu Ming and the rest to go over. Then he sent experts to ambush them. There were more than a dozen experts, all of whom were above the 6th Divine Lord Realm. There were even 3 8th Divine Lord Realm experts. However, they never returned. There was no news. It was as if they were swallowed by a giant beast. How was this possible? There were so many experts by Lu Ming's side? Moreover, now that the Blue Merchant had been killed by the barbarian tribe and his corpse had fallen into the hands of the barbarian tribe, wouldn't that mean that the soul treasure was also with the barbarian tribe? Therefore he was furious. This was related to his lifespan. He was unable to restrain his anger, and his killing intent was almost uncontrollable. After a long while, the Taishu Saint Emperor's aura finally calmed down. Men, send a message to the Berserker Emperor. Tell him that I'm willing to buy back the Blue Merchant's corpse at a high price. The Great Void Saint Emperor ordered. They naturally had a way to pass the news to the barbaric emperor. But after a period of time, the barbarian emperor replied with only 2 words. No way. The barbarian tribe and the Taishu dynasty were mortal enemies. Not long ago, the 2 sides had fought a great battle at the Taishu Saint Emperor's birthday banquet. How could the barbaric emperor agree to the Great Void Saint Emperor's request? He did not even need to check or ask. As long as it was beneficial to the Great Void Saint Emperor, he would reject it. Barbarian Emperor, you're courting death. Men, give me the order to attack the barbarian tribe. I want to destroy the barbarian tribe. At the same time, mobilize the troops of all the heavenly kings and marquises' mansions and attack the barbarian tribe together. The Great Void Saint Emperor had gone mad. He wanted to launch an all-out attack on the barbarian tribe. Following the Taishu Saint Emperor's orders, the entire Taishu Holy Court was shaken. All the heavenly kings' manors and marquis manors sent out their experts to join the army. Together with the imperial army, they charged towards the barbarian tribe. Of course, the barbarian tribe was not weak either. They mobilized a huge army to fight the Taishu dynasty. A terrifying war had broken out. The Taishu dynasty and the barbarian tribe fought at the border. The war was endless and a large number of experts fell every day. However, the Taishu dynasty was only slightly stronger than the barbarian tribe. How could it be easy to destroy the barbarian tribe? For a time, both sides were in a stalemate. Both sides had victories and losses, and the war was hard to determine. Lu Ming naturally led the Nether Ape fighting tribe to fight the barbarian tribe. Of course, he was just putting on an act. After a few battles, he brought his people back to the hidden dragon star and let the Nether Ape fighting tribe cultivate in peace. Just like that, 10 years passed in a flash. In these 10 years, the Taishu dynasty and the barbarian tribe were still at war. However, it was not as crazy as before. Both sides were in a stalemate and sometimes there would be a big battle. At this time, Lu Ming received a piece of good news. It was sent to him by Etion. He finally found the whereabouts of the mid-autumn moon. More than 100 years ago, someone found traces of the autumn moon in the north of the barbarian tribe. However, later on, for some unknown reason, the autumn moon seemed to have disappeared in the lost galaxy in the north of the barbarian tribe. Lost galaxy? Lu Ming's face was extremely solemn. Lu Ming had heard of the legend of the Lost Galaxy. It was said that the Lost Galaxy was in the north of the barbarian tribe. It was a very strange galaxy. No matter what cultivation you had, as long as you entered the Lost Galaxy, you could forget about coming out. Throughout history, countless powerful existences, including top experts above the 7th Divine Lord realm, had never returned. No one had ever come out. What happened? How did the Mid-Autumn Moon enter the Lost Galaxy? Lu Ming was extremely anxious. Needless to say, the Mid-Autumn Moon must have encountered some special circumstances. Otherwise, how could she enter the Lost Galaxy? No, I must go and find the Mid-Autumn Moon. Lu Ming's face was filled with determination. No matter how terrifying the Lost Galaxy was, he had to make a trip. He could not leave the Mid-Autumn Moon behind. Even if it was dangerous, he had to go. Moreover, he had to go immediately. The Lost Galaxy was strange and unpredictable. He did not know what dangers there would be. If he went later, the Mid-Autumn Moon would be in greater danger. Immediately, he gathered Yuan Huan and Yuan Tsung and told them about this matter. Blue Merchant was naturally not here. Instead, he stayed with Tian for the time being. You want to go to the Lost Galaxy? That's too dangerous. For countless years, no one who went in has ever come out. Lu Ming, you have to think carefully. Yuan Huan advised. I know it's dangerous, but this time I have to go. After I leave, I'll leave this place to you. Don't worry, I'll definitely come out. Lu Ming said with incomparable determination. Yuan Huan and Yuan Tsung looked hesitant. However, they had been with Lu Ming for some time. They knew Lu Ming's character. Once he made up his mind, it was useless even if others tried to persuade him. Since the battle ancestor has a request, we'll go with you. We can take care of each other. Yuan Huan said. That's right. Let's go together. Yuan Tsung added. No, you have to stay here. If you go with me, who will be responsible for this place? Lu Ming rejected directly. Then I'll go with the battle ancestor. With the clan leader here, there must be someone with the battle ancestor. Otherwise, it'll be too dangerous. Yuan Tsung said. He had to go with Lu Ming. Chapter 35:12. In the end, Lu Ming decided to bring Ape Tsung to the Lost Galaxy while Ape Huan oversaw the hidden dragon star. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming set off on the same day. Ape Tsung brought Lu Ming along at an astonishing speed, flying along the northern border of the barbarian race. Although they encountered the barbarian race along the way with Ape Tsung leading the way, there were no obstacles at all. After a period of time, they finally arrived at the Lost Galaxy. Looking from afar, a galaxy was suspended in the universe, shining with silver-white starlight. It was incomparably dazzling. From the looks of it, it seemed to be slowly rotating. The galaxy was actually not like a river. Looking from outside the galaxy was circular and slowly rotating. It was incomparably mysterious. Let's go. Lu Ming whispered and flew toward the Lost Galaxy with Ape Kong. As they got closer and closer, Lu Ming and Ape Tsung finally flew into the range of the Lost Galaxy. When they flew into the range of the Lost Galaxy, a burst of dazzling light shone, so bright that the two could not open their eyes. After a few breaths, the dazzling light disappeared. Lu Ming and Ape Tsung looked around and then their expressions changed. Originally, they had just entered the edge of the Lost Galaxy, but now when they looked back, there was a vast starry sky behind them. Lonely planets were suspended in the air, and they could not see the end of it. They could not see other galaxies at all. The two tried to fly backward, but after flying for hundreds of millions of miles, they still could not fly out of the Lost Galaxy. They were really lost. It seems that the Lost Galaxy has a terrifying field energy. Once a living creature enters, it will be lost and can't find the way out. Lu Ming frowned. Autumn Moon had been here for so many years. What had happened? Ape Tsung, let's go. Lu Ming said to Ape Tsung, then flew in the opposite direction. But after a while, Lu Ming stopped and a puzzled look appeared on his face. Battle Ancestor, what's wrong? Ape Tsung asked. I don't know why, but ever since I entered the Lost Star River, my blood seems to be flowing faster. The primordial god blood in my body seems to be slightly pulsating, as if it is responding to something. Yes, it's an inexplicable response. Lu Ming said. He really felt that way. Sense? Where is that feeling coming from? Yuan Tsung's eyes lit up as he asked. There. Lu Ming pointed in a direction. If I'm not wrong, there must be something in that direction that attracted the war ancestor. Maybe the war ancestor is lucky enough to find the Autumn Moon girl and the way out? Yuan Tsung said. Could it be Mid-Autumn Moon? Let's go. After Lu Ming finished speaking, he quickly flew in that direction. The ape followed closely behind. In the Lost Star River, one would not be able to distinguish directions. Moreover, during the process of flying, the direction would constantly change. At first, Lu Ming felt that the feeling was in front of him, but after flying for a while, the feeling appeared on the right. Lu Ming flew to the right again, and after a while, it became behind him again. Sometimes it was right, sometimes it was left, sometimes it was in front, and sometimes it was behind him. It was constantly changing, incomparably strange and difficult to grasp. If they did not have that feeling, they would be trapped here for the rest of their lives. Just like that, they flew for a full month. After flying for a month, Lu Ming felt that the feeling was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that Lu Ming was getting closer and closer to the place where he felt the feeling. "Who's there?" At that moment, Yuan Tsong suddenly shouted. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Lu Ming was shocked and he stopped in his tracks. I didn't expect someone to come in again. It's been a long time since a good meal was delivered. This time I can eat to my heart's content again. A sneer was heard, and then the void spread. A huge python suddenly appeared, opened its bloody mouth, and stared at Lu Ming and Yuan Tsong eerily. A python had appeared in the Lost Star River. The python stuck out its tongue, sweeping Lu Ming's body back and forth, and said coldly, "Young man, I like young people the most. The taste is fresh and tender. The last time a girl came in, the taste was really good." The python said coldly. Bang. At this moment, Lu Ming's head roared as if it was about to explode. The last time a girl came in? Could it be the autumn moon? At this moment, Lu Ming emitted a terrifying killing intent. "Yuan Tsong, kill him for me. No, cripple him first." Lu Ming roared. Bang. Lu Ming's voice had just faded when Yuan Tsong directly attacked. Grabbing with a large hand, a huge palm grabbed toward the python. 7th level Divine Lord, ah damn it. The python roared in horror. Its huge body twisted, turning around to flee. He had 5th level Divine Lord Cultivation, 2 levels lower than Yuan Kong. The moment he discovered Yuan Tsong's cultivation, he did not dare to stay at all. However, with a difference of 2 levels, how could he possibly escape? Yuan Tsong's large hand grabbed down, covering the firmament, enveloping the starry sky within a radius of tens of millions of miles. Then he grabbed the python. The python struggled fiercely, but when Yuan Tsong squeezed hard, the python cried out miserably. It was unknown how many bones in its body were broken. "You really ate a young woman?" Lu Ming asked with red eyes. No, I'm lying to you guys. I did see a young woman, but before I made a move, she ran away. I can swear on my life source that I really didn't eat her. Spare me." The python cried out miserably. Lu Ming immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Since the other party dared to swear on his life source, it was most likely true. "The woman you mentioned, what did she look like?" Lu Ming asked. "Very beautiful, like a fairy." Immediately, the python described it again. It was really the autumn moon. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The moment the other party described, he knew that it was indeed the autumn moon. "You're a 5th level Divine Lord, how could you let her run away? You'd better not lie to me." Lu Ming said coldly. "It's true. I did want to make a move at that time, but there was an expert beside that girl. I didn't dare to make a move." The python said. "An expert?" Lu Ming frowned and asked again, "Then do you know where that woman went after that?" "I don't know. I really don't know what happened after that. Please spare me. I've been trapped in the Lost Star River for a year. It's so miserable. Take pity on me." The python cried out miserably. Tears actually flowed out of its eyes, looking miserable. "Then you have no value. Yuan Tsong, kill it?" Lu Ming said indifferently. No, wait, right, I remember now." Hearing that Lu Ming wanted to kill it, the python almost shrank in fear and screamed sharply. "Speak." Lu Ming said coldly. "They might have gone to the core area. Those who enter the Lost Star River will never be able to get out and will eventually go to the core area." The python hurriedly shouted and explained. Chapter 35:13. The Core Land. Lu Ming and Yuan Tsong were curious. "That's right. The core is the core of the Lost Galaxy. It's a planet. You should be able to see that in the Lost Galaxy, there's no divine aura at all. Only the planet at the core has divine aura. Therefore, all the creatures on the Lost Galaxy will eventually go to the core. The girl you're looking for may have gone to the core land too." The python quickly explained and trembled in fear, afraid that Yuan Tsong would kill him. "Are you trying to lie to me? It's difficult to distinguish directions in the Lost Galaxy. How can other creatures find the core land?" Lu Ming's face was filled with murderous intent. "I'm not lying. If you sense it carefully, you'll definitely sense that all the energy in the Lost Galaxy is converging towards one place. Although it's extremely faint, you can still sense it if you sense it carefully. As long as you follow the direction of the energy flow, you'll be able to find the planet at the core. The python screamed in horror and quickly explained. Immediately, Lu Ming and Yuan Tsong sensed it carefully. Indeed, not long after, they vaguely sensed that the energy between heaven and earth was indeed flowing slowly and converging in one direction. However, the range was too small. If they didn't sense it carefully, they wouldn't be able to sense it at all. Even if they sensed it, they wouldn't think that the energy was converging towards the core land. The flow of energy in space was very normal. You've sensed it, right? I'm telling the truth. If you want to go to the core land, I can take you with me. The python cried. All right, let's go together then, Lu Ming said. It was good to have an acquaintance by his side. Moreover, Lu Ming couldn't determine whether what the python said was true or false. Yuan Tsong immediately let go of the python. The python's body quickly shrank and turned into a skinny old man with a shifty-eyed look. My name is Python Fu. The python chuckled and introduced himself. Then he led Lu Ming and the others in a certain direction. Along the way, Lu Ming carefully sensed that they were indeed following the direction of the energy flow. To Lu Ming's surprise, the direction of the energy flow was actually the same as the direction he sensed. In other words, the feeling also came from the planet at the core land. Just like that, they kept flying. However, their speed wasn't very fast as they couldn't use their full strength. Therefore, in the blink of an eye, they flew for another month. We're here. Python Fu revealed a look of excitement as he looked ahead. In front of him, there was a huge planet suspended in the air. Even though he was far away, Lu Ming could still sense traces of divine aura emanating from it. Furthermore, that intense sensation had grown even stronger. Mid-autumn moon is here? Lu Ming revealed a hopeful expression. The three of them flew towards the planet. I'll bring you to a place. Go there and ask around. Perhaps you'll find some information. They landed on the planet and flew in a certain direction. Not long after, a vast expanse of mountains and rivers appeared before their eyes. Giant mountains rose from the ground, with palaces built on top of them. These palaces were extremely magnificent, and there was a statue in front of each palace. These statues were all mystical dragons. Furthermore, that feeling seemed to come from this mountain range. Now, my primordial divine body has been transformed into the primordial divine dragon body. There's even a drop of primordial divine blood in my body that's related to the primordial divine dragon body. Could it be related to the divine dragon body? Lu Ming's mind kept turning. At this moment, the corners of Python Fu's mouth curled up into a sneer as he suddenly retreated. Stay here. Yuan Tsong noticed Python Fu's retreat. He roared and clawed at him. But at this moment, a saber suddenly appeared in front of Python Fu. The saber slashed at Yuan Tsong's huge hand. There was an earth-shattering roar. The saber shook violently and retreated. Yuan Tsong's huge hand was also cut off by the saber. The next moment, a burly man appeared in front of Python Fu. He was holding a rusty saber. 7th level Divine Lord. Yuan Tsong's face turned solemn. There's a newcomer. This is going to be fun. Cold laughter sounded one after another. Figures appeared one after another in the surroundings. Lu Ming swept his gaze and discovered that there were more than a dozen people. Each of their aura was extremely powerful. They were at least 6th level Divine Lords. There were even quite a few who were probably above 6th level Divine Lords. Python Fu. Lu Ming stared at Python Fu with an ugly expression. Clearly they had been tricked by Python Fu. I didn't lie to you. This is indeed the Core Land's planet. Python Fu sneered. The two of you, surrender yourselves. Be our slaves for 10 million years and we'll let you go. 10 million years? That's too little. At least 100 million years. The surrounding people laughed and stared at Lu Ming and company like cats staring at mice. Then they closed in on Lu Ming. Battle Ancestor, leave quickly. I'll hold them back. Yuan Tsong roared. Then his body changed rapidly. He displayed the primordial divine body and turned into a giant ape. At the same time, he displayed the phantom battle art and raised his combat strength to the extreme. Bang! Yuan Tsong suddenly attacked. Both fists blasted out consecutively, blasting toward the burly man wielding the battle blade. It's the primordial divine body. This guy is tough. Several exclamations sounded in succession. That burly man wielding the battle blade roared and also raised his aura to the extreme. The battle blade slashed out continuously. Immediately, more than a dozen blade lights appeared, slashing toward Yuan Kong. More than a dozen violent rumbles sounded in succession. Force overflowed. Fist force and blade chi swept out in all directions. Following that, the blade lights vibrated. More than a dozen blade lights collapsed virtually at the same time. That burly man wielding the battle blade retreated repeatedly. Go! Yuan Tsong roared and rushed out of the encirclement together with Lu Ming. Wanna leave? Stop right there for me. Don't think about leaving today. The others roared and chased after Lu Ming and company. Aura erupted. Lu Ming discovered in shock that there were at least 5 people whose cultivation reached 7th level divine lords. There were actually so many terrifying powerhouses in the Lost Galaxy. Go that way. Lu Ming roared. Leading Yuan Tsong, he rushed in the direction of the palace. The other party had too many experts. If they rushed outside, they definitely could not escape the other party's pursuit. He had a feeling that if they rushed toward the palace area, there might be a turning point. In an instant they rushed into the mountains. At that moment the people behind them suddenly stopped. They no longer dared to chase after them. They all revealed looks of fear. Not good. Lu Ming had a bad premonition in his heart. The other party did not dare to pursue. Could it be that this place was dangerous? Otherwise, why would the other party not dare to chase inside? That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.